With the BBC News at 10 o'clock, this is Stephen Davis. A major incident has been declared after about 200 barrels of oil leaked into the water at Poole Harbour in Dorset. The company operating the pipeline said a clean-up operation is underway. Our correspondent Greg Mackenzie has the latest.
Companies specialising in oil spill responses have been mobilised to the area, and members of the public who have come into contact with the spill are being urged to go home and wash with soap and water. Now, the Environment Agency has said that it has received reports of large amounts of oil in the water and was supporting Poole Harbour in dealing with the incident.
A report says nearly 3,000 children in England and Wales were strip searched by police under stop and search powers between 2018 and the middle of last year. Some were as young as 8, and black children were up to 6 times more likely to be strip searched. The figures have been published by the Children's Commissioner for England, Dame Rachel de Souza.
Most took place in police stations or at the children's home, but there were some places that are really not acceptable for strip search. I have seen data showing strip searches in a fast food outlet, in an amusement park, in a number of schools and police vehicles, both totally unacceptable.
Well, police chiefs say that they will consider the findings carefully. The Levelling Up Secretary Michael Gove says the sale of nitrous oxide will be banned. He said parks and public spaces shouldn't be allowed to become what he called drug-taking arenas. The ban's among a range of measures being announced tomorrow to crack down on antisocial behaviour. The measures would also include making offenders clean up the damage they've caused within 48 hours. Speaking on the BBC's Sunday with Laura Koonsberg programme, Mr Gove said it was important to get on top of low-level antisocial behaviour.
There tends to be this approach that, it's only minor, or, let people let off steam. No, these are public spaces that should be safe and orderly. Once you begin to retreat from these public spaces, once you say anything goes, then, as we know, what appear to be small infringements turn into a greater degree of lawlessness.
Cambridge University have secured a clean sweep of wins over Oxford in the Thames boat race. The Cambridge women's crew won for the 6th successive time before the men held off a late charge from Oxford.
And Oxford are going, they're throwing everything at this here. It's going to be a narrow victory for Cambridge, but narrow is enough in the boat race because victory is all that matters. It is Cambridge again. That's a great race and not a huge winning margin, but the light blues take it. They take it all again in all the boat races.
And England have sealed a second straight win at the start of their Euro 2024 qualifying campaign. They've beaten Ukraine 2-0 at Wembley tonight. That's the BBC News. It's 3 minutes past 10.
Sparky. Oh, Sparky.
Who's that?
Sick. Put your hand up if you give us stuff about the boat race. Yeah, I thought not. Good evening. How are you?
BBC Radio Manchester.
Hello. I'm Alan Beswick. This is the Alan Beswick Late Night Phone-In, and it is nice to be here. To be here, nice. And if you were listening last night, I'm pleased to announce that the person who said that one of my colleagues in the commercial part of the World Peak Prize, well, he's not dead. Or at least he wasn't this morning. Exactly. So there you are. And if the Liverpool Echo are listening, there's 2 L's in on it, but that's neither here nor there. 0800 218 2255. You want to join us, that's fine. Pick up your phone, have your say. As France turns itself inside out in the way that only they can, and all because the government wants to increase the state retirement age, we who've seen ours raised twice sit idly by and read this morning that by the year 2050 our pension age will be 72. Take that, monsieur. Now the robots are getting it in the neck. I kid you not. Google AI is said by those on the right to be... It says it's biased. Honestly, Google AI is said to be biased against those on the left and stands accused of being in breach of electoral law. Off with its plug, that's what I say. Well, that would just mean that it retires early. Actress Reese Witherspoon and her second husband have split up, which is sad. And just as her pubs had recorded their first profit in years. Could these facts be related? We should be told. And the tie is dying. Even BBC journalists are forsaking the button-hided soup sucker, the tie. We've had reporters hiding their legs in jeans. Jeans, for God's sake! I saw a television reporter the other day in shorts. Who in the name of all that matters wants the news to become a knobbly knees competition? As Dad's Army's Fraser might say, we're all doomed. We're doomed. Well, why not? And the College of Policing has backed down following controversy when they suggested that the names of those charged with crime should not be released. Obviously, where I sit, I see both sides of the argument, but wonder, just a little, if the college said don't release the names because these days so many of those charged turn out to be coppers. And the animal rights wallers have been busy. Not all of them, just the daft ones. They've complained that terms like hot dog, which apparently is one of them whacks they have in tennis, or worm burner, which is from golf, should be dropped because the terms are offensive to animals. I know they mean well, the animal rights lot. They do, they really... Believe this, but she was one of the best paid actresses in the world way back, possibly in the 1920s. It was somebody called Shirley Temple, as you gathered from the voice. She was a child star, a child film star. I don't know whether she did anything since then, but later in life, as an adult, she married a bloke called Black and became Shirley Temple Black, and was quite energetic, I suppose the word is, in American politics. She was an ambassador for a while, and she held some... I mean, she wasn't a senator. At first I thought she was. She wasn't a senator out like that, but she held some high office in the United States government for a while as well. So there you go. From animal crackers to the White House, or as some people call it, complete nutter bloody crackers. 0800 218 2255. You want to join us, you can. We're here till 1 o'clock in the morning, and 1 o'clock means 1 o'clock tomorrow morning, unlike this morning when 1 o'clock meant 2 o'clock. Please don't ask, I don't understand. If you want to join us, you can. That's the number. 0800 218 2255. I'll do Lindsay.
From animal crackers to Lindsay crackers, I was the one that phoned up with false information last night about price.
Indeed.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. You said somebody told you. You didn't say it was true. We just weren't in a position to challenge it. And he's not. And he's announced today in the Liverpool Echo that he's not dead, which is good of him. And so neither of us are complaining. Both Pete and I know there's no such thing as bad publicity, and he got some and I got some. So, hey, let's not knock it.
What I wanted to talk about is it difficult to change your name back to your maiden name?
No.
What do you have to do? Or where'd you go to?
Well, what do you have to do? First of all, in legal terms, and I'm not a lawyer, but in legal terms, all you have to do is start using your other name. So whatever, right. If your name was Beswick, I doubt that very much, but if your name was Beswick and you became Smith and you want to go back to Beswick, you just start calling yourself Lindsay Beswick, which you're entitled to do. Of course, you may well then have to go through some kind of documentary process. For example, if you have a driving licence, you would have to notify them that you've changed your name. But it's called changing your name by repute. So you don't have to go through a great big legal procedure. There are legal procedures you can do. You can change your name by deed poll, which can be... It has an expense attached to it, but you can just start using another name, and that's known as changing your name by repute, and is perfectly legal.
All right, okay, that's all the information I want. Thanks for that, anyway.
All right, but remember, all your documentation will need to change. 0800 218 2255. How do you, Mike?
there was something thoroughly charming about that Shirley Temple, wasn't there?
Well, I never did see any of her films, but she seemed, you know, in the clip I watched to check that record out, I thought, yeah, that's quite fun. My dad used to like her.
Don't you think that in a strange sort of way, there was something like the archetypal child thing? I mean, we've all surely, most of us, particularly those interested in recording, have got recordings of children, and it's that kind of innocent confidence. It really moved me, that, because you see, I'd just come off the phone having spoken to James, but put through, and that was the first thing I heard. I thought it was absolutely marvellous. Was that a Beswick pick?
Well, yes, it was to match the story that I was doing.
Yes, of course.
Which was all about animal rights people.
Yes,
someone being
yes,
crackers.
Of course.
So yes, it was that, but it's from yonks ago. I think it was the 1920s.
1920s. Now, going back, but not quite so far.
No, 1934. I've just looked it up. 1934. That song is from.
Moving 34 years on from there. Last
68.
night you mentioned, when we were talking about the changing of the clocks, they did it experimentally for 3 years in 68, 69 and 70. And we must, I make no apology for this, I did speak to you about this when you were doing the weekday programmes, but I do apologise slightly. I have rather forgotten what you did say. I'll boot us off by saying I personally wish that they would leave the clocks in the current orientation. I think it's much better. Do you?
I don't know. It doesn't affect my life much, so it's hard to say. And I wouldn't, because I haven't got a personal opinion or a personal yay or nay. It seems harsh to say let's change it, because I don't know the full implications for everybody else.
I think they're going to let it stand now pretty indefinitely. If we lost, for instance, if we did ever lose our friends up in Scotland, it might allow us to think afresh, because it apparently affects them far more seriously than it does us.
Yeah, they're further away from the equator, and time it operates slightly differently there.
Sure. It just seems pretty depressing in winter when you look at your watch and it's 4:15 and darkness is upon us. Even as a blindy, with a light sensitivity.
But you'd only be looking at your watch or checking your watch at 5:15 and thinking, oh my God. But of course in the morning it would be different. Well, an hour's difference if it's told, but I don't know. I don't know that it makes much difference to people generally, does it?
I saw a statistic or a news item today that it takes, and you'll be a bit shocked by this, it takes people, they were claiming, 4 days to get used to it.
Yeah, that's only like, coming back from somewhere, jet lag and all that palaver.
Yeah.
It's not much of a change, is it? An hour?
Did you know, by the way, you probably heard it, they did a radio programme about it some time ago, about some people who were so adamant about this that they always left their clocks domestically in summertime. And so when they made arrangements with people in the winter, must have been an awful nuisance.
I worked with a producer called Mike Green, good evening Mike, at Red Rose Radio, who would never change his watch. Even when he went on holiday, he kept his watch. And I rather enjoy annoying my wife if she asks me what time it is when we're in a place in a different time zone. And for example, I took advantage of the opportunity today and said, oh, blimey, look at that. It's 10 o'clock. Which really drives her crackers, which is the only reason for doing it, really.
Right. Next thing, Mr. Boris Johnson, his performance last Wednesday, I thought that I've never heard him sound quite as dedicatedly serious about what he was trying to achieve. But the impression I got, Alan, was that he was telling a truth, how it registered with him, and seemingly pretty well solely only with him. I mean, is it not possible that he actually made up some of the rules regarding lockdown?
Well, I think he was a party to them, and he was the person that had to, at the very least, tick box them at the end. When all the discussions have been had, they land on the Prime Minister's desk, and the Prime Minister makes the decision whether we're going to do this or not. So it's very difficult for him to argue he didn't know the rules, which is why he didn't make that argument. He made the argument that he believed that his interpretation of the rules permitted what he did. And one has to say, what choice did he have once he was defending that position?
Did it make you laugh with your usual cynicism?
I don't know about laugh, because it's hard to laugh when people have had to watch their relatives die. Obeying the rules when others have failed to obey them, and the people who failed to obey them are the leaders of the government that introduced them.
Okay, so, put it another way. I take it didn't quite make you angry what he was trying to do.
No, he was. Look, when you're in the crap, you have a good look round for the best defence you've got, and if the defence is terrible and you have no other, you go with the terrible one.
Yeah. Yes. Tell me, Alan, what has there hasn't been you give me a sensible view of this. What has the press been like about it since?
Not many that I can think of said, didn't he do a good job? Quite a lot. Even the Daily Mail, who, well, to be fair, the Daily Mail have never been great supporters of Boris, but they are great supporters of the Conservative Party. But I think the general press view, by my absorption of reading various different newspapers, the general press view is that politically he's finished. But you never know. You never know. Politics is a bloody funny game, you know?
Yeah. He really did sound in earnest, though, didn't he?
Well, he wasn't going to... I mean, he couldn't go in there and be his normal person, could he? He had to... I mean, if he tried to waffle them, and, you know... I mean, one of the press on the right of politics was quite scathing about Harriet Harman, and saying basically she was out to get him and wasn't an impartial chairman. I'm not altogether sure whether there is a requirement for parliamentary committees to be impartial. I don't know, but they were saying it was basically her versus him to all intents. But we'll have to wait and see what the committee reports.
Of course, Alan. You know, if you try to look at it dispassionately, they were not very nice with him. Were they?
I don't know what you mean. They were who were not very nice.
What was he called? Bernard. What was he called? Bernard. He was a Conservative.
He was a Conservative. Yeah, I've forgotten his name as well, Sir Bernard.
But he sounded a bit like Michael Howard, didn't he?
I didn't notice that. I was too interested in what he was saying rather than what he sounded like. But he was, I mean, he was doing his job. And the way these things happen is, it wasn't a random process. They decided beforehand. The committee decided what questions were going to be asked, and they do that under the guidance of the chairman. But they come up with they distill the 100 questions they've got into 4 or 5 that are the most important ones, and then they basically just farm them out so that each committee member gets the opportunity to ask a question. And you saw that, or heard that, with the chairman. She would say, and now, number 2 is going to ask his or her question, and they did.
She did. Particularly, that came out, I noticed that particularly with the last chap who had his innings right at the end. The one who said, we're nearly through now, don't worry. like a dentist.
Indeed, yes. Perhaps it was the same thing. Getting the truth out of him could well be analogised as pulling teeth.
Extractions.
Yes. Anyway, there we are. I mean,
Okay.
we'll see how he does with it.
Well, I'll leave you to some other good callers, I hope.
All right, have a good night. Not putting yourself in amongst the good, who knows? 0800 218 2255. How do, Peter?
Hello, Alan Beswick, Peter Price.
It's the corpse.
You knew I'd ring. I've been trying to get on. I have to ring. To the lady that said I was passed away, dead, to her, can I tell her that my phone has been rammed all day? I've had to charge it 3 times.
That's good to hear.
And it was a shock. It was a shock to hear. And by the way, the club I worked in was the fabulous Shakespeare Theatre Club.
Yeah, somebody said later on, I remember, well, somebody reminded me later on, the brilliant Shakespeare. And it burnt down. I think it was because they were getting rid of you. I don't know.
It was a little bit like that. I cannot believe that I'm talking to the legendary Alan Beswick, and I mean because you used to cut me off when you found out I was a Scouser years ago.
Well, I may still do it, Peter. There's every chance.
I always looked up to you and said,
God.
one day I'm going to do what he does. And I finished up doing it, which was amazing.
Natural inclination for easy money, clearly.
But it was weird. It was really weird, seriously, hearing, and I don't know where she got the idea that I died.
Well, she said during the course, she's just been on saying I got it wrong. Her friend told her, and we kind of decided by the end of the programme, because we were trying to check it. We know it's like at 1 o'clock in the morning. How do you check it? And we're trying to check it, and we eventually came round to her friend must have been referring to the play, which you commented on a few years back. Pete Price is dead. So if somebody says Pete Price is dead, and she goes, "Oh my God, really? How are we going to manage without him?" So it could have been a reference to that, but who the hell knows what goes on in people's
And
minds?
then somebody else told me today there was a footballer, I think he died 10 years ago in Scotland, called Peter Price.
Peter Price, he died. So that was I got to that and thought, well, maybe that was where the confusion arose. Well, who knows? You and me.
Who knows?
We get utterly confused.
I just wanted the people to realise that I was still alive and well. Take longer to take my tablets in the morning and at night. But that's...
Have you thought of putting them on a waist-high shelf and you can reach them much easier than bending down? But I have to tell you, Peter, that you're in very, very good company, because Alan Wicker... You'll know Alan Wicker, of course.
I do indeed, yeah.
In his biography, and his autobiography, I interviewed him just after it came out, as we do. And in his autobiography, he republished a headline. He was covering, I think it was the Korean War, as a war correspondent, and his plane was shot down, and the papers carried his the announcement that he was dead.
Oh, wow. I didn't realise that.
No, get his book, it's a cracker. Anyway,
Alan, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a serious question, because I'll be very interesting to talk to you about this. Phone-ins have changed irreparably, unbelievably over the years. You've changed your style, but your knowledge is immense and always has been. I find now, mind you, my phone was different. Mine was like yours was years ago. But I found now I can't do a phone-in anymore because of political correctness and woke.
It's a lot more... It's not harder. You just, there have always been rules. And even in the ribald days of me on Red Rose and you on Radio City, we got away with more than we would get away with now, but there were still rules, And you work. It's like living in a balloon. You work within the balloon, but you push it occasionally, just see if you can make it a bit bigger.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. Well, I just wanted to come on and say hi to you. Hi, I'm alive, and seriously, You're a great broadcaster, and there's very few left, Alan. Very few left.
Well, there's one more than we thought last night, but anyway.
Take care, my friend.
And you, have a good night. Pete Price, 0800 218 2255. If you're wondering what the hell all that was about, you may have heard Lindsay early on saying she was the one that said her friend had told us that the great Pete Price had died. He had not. Indeed, he was somewhat surprised. He was getting phone calls just as he came off the telly. I'll do Beverly.
I'm talking to.
Oh, you're breaking up, Beverly. We're having trouble. Try again.
Is this the legendary Allan Beswick I'm talking to?
I've no idea whether it's legendary, but it's as real as anything. Prick me, do I not bleed?
I was just Pete Price's.
Oh, Beverly, we keep losing you. We'll ring you back, Beverly. Put your phone down. We'll get the team. We'll get ring you back. We'll get Jane to ring you back, and we'll see if we can't sort something out. I'll do Mark.
Hi, Alan. How are you doing?
Awfully well, thank you.
Well, obviously, it's in all the press today about Matty Hancock cocking things up again.
What's he cocked up this time?
Well, he says he's worth 10 grand a day. There's been some organisation who want his help to lobby the government in any way, shape or form. These characters. Anyway, he's ended up, he's asked them for 10 grand a day. He thinks he's obviously worth that. But what's actually pretty serious about it is how much does it cost to get these characters to do whatever they want to do. I mean, we know he was instrumental in a lot of the things that went down. I mean, I heard you talk there before about the Johnson parties, and they were all having parties while it was that terrible. We couldn't really go out our homes. I mean, my mother was locked up in a nursing home. We were totally barred from going in. Guess what? We've got the same thing going on now. They've said they've got another outbreak. We can't get in to see anymore. Absolutely unbelievable. And these characters were actually having a party and laughing and enjoying themselves, and even Hancock himself, he was running around now. What was quite interesting is the fear tactics that were used against the population. It was actually reported in the Telegraph. I was pretty annoyed about that, because this psychological sort of terrorising of the population, and they were calling for him to be arrested in the Telegraph, because these are criminal acts, where politicians terrorising the population. I mean, he was saying that this new variant, or when we're going to release this new variant. Well, what was all that about? The most disturbing thing is his comments in the WhatsApp. The WhatsApp threads. He's a bit of a disaster area, and I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of people in government sort of jettised him, are trying to sort of keep away from him a bit. He's like a bit of a donor. But this issue about the WhatsApp things that he was putting out, I mean, it was horrendous. And then one of the really serious ones where he said that he'd injected everybody with an antenna in the vaccine. That was pretty interesting on behalf of Bill Gates. So this is in his WhatsApp, and that's pretty concerning, because unfortunately I've seen a few videos on the internet where people are sticking magnets to the injection site. And so if that is correct, then I think
Mark, it's not correct, is the simple answer. It's absolute cobblers, but it's the internet, and I'm afraid the internet is the home of the stupid.
Well, no, the Matt Hancock's admitted it.
To be frank, Matt Hancock has not admitted injecting people with aerials.
No, antennas, he said. He said he'd injected
antenna is a synonym for an aerial. They're the same thing. It's nonsense.
No, what he said was injected
it's nonsense.
No, he said
it's injected in the Mark, well, first of all, Mark, he didn't inject anybody for a start, and he didn't, and nobody was injected and had an antenna put inside them. So don't be silly. Have a good day. Good night. You're a barn pot if you believe that. Let's see if we can make Beverly's line work. Hello, Beverly.
Hi, Alan. Can you hear me?
I can indeed.
Right. I just come on to say about you reading the newspapers last night, and I was a bit nauseous. I couldn't phone last night. I was feeling that bad about the 8-year-olds who were going to be, or could be, strip search, and a certain class of people are going to be more picked on than others, Alan.
Well, it's not a case of they're going to be. It's already happened. 8-year-olds... Well, children have been strip searched by the police, and the youngest that we're aware of was 8 years of age. Others were older than that, but still children. Occasionally, not always, but occasionally they were strip searched with no parent or guardian present. They were taken to police stations to be strip searched, which is entirely against the rules, and all sorts of other things too. It's been all over the place today, but yes, kids being strip searched. And
I was
I'm sorry,
when I heard,
there's not many people think it was the correct thing to do.
No. Okay, that was all, Alan. Thank you for having...
It's my pleasure. I'm glad we got you back. 0800 218 2255. It does appear that we have a few months of stories. We've already had a few months. We're going to have a few more months of stories coming out where the police appear in the stories to be a law unto themselves. I'll do Ethan.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can, yes. Thank you.
Oh, I just want to tell you my fat fucking cock is...
Good night. I'll do Walter.
Hi, Alan.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, do you know what? Every time I watch... you ever seen Hello, Hello? Yeah?
A long time ago, I think I did, yeah. Sorry?
Hello, Hello. He's a German, isn't he? You ever watch Hello, Hello?
A long time ago, I watched it, yes, once.
Remember Hello, Hello? But Man Hancock is that German, isn't he? He's the double of him.
Oh, I don't remember the programme well enough to say.
I swear down, all your listeners, you'll go, hi, let's watch Hello, Hello. Here's Matt Hancock, yeah. It's not German, yeah.
Well, I hope it's true, but I suspect it's not.
Lovely programme, yeah. Take care, yeah. Thanks.
Have a good night, Walter. I'll do Anne.
Hello, Alan. It's a pleasure to speak to you, lovely gentleman.
And you, Anne, can you turn your radio off, please, or your telly or whatever it's on in the background?
Hold on, dear. I do apologise, Alan.
That's all right, don't worry.
I do apologise.
All right.
I'll go and do it now. 2 minutes.
Okay. All right. 2 minutes? God bless us, that's a long time.
It's done now, done.
Excellent.
Alan?
What would you like to talk about? Yeah.
It's a pleasure to talk to you. But the thing is, when P. Price go on the phone, it's made my night because I used to ring you all the time on his show when he was running it.
Yeah.
And I got worried. I thought, I wonder what's wrong with him, poor darling. Because he's a lovely gentleman like you are. You're a lovely gentleman too. And it was just lovely to hear him talking to you.
Good.
It was absolutely lovely.
He's a good lad. He's all right. We late night phoning presenters are like a cabal of nonsense.
No, you're all lovely people. You're lovely, lovely people. And everybody's really different. I'll smack them. And I think you're all lovely.
Right.
Well, it was just a pleasure to hear him.
It was.
A pleasure.
All right, Anne, thank you very much. Thank you. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, you can. As we've said many times before, you can talk about absolutely anything. It's dead easy. There's lots of stuff out there that might interest you. There again, none of it might. You might be bored with it all. I do like the idea that Matt Hancock is the spitting image of the German soldier in Hello, Hello. I'm no way of checking that, but I do hope it's true. Some things are just too good to check, aren't they, really? 0800 218 222. Hello.
Hello, Alan.
Hiya.
Hello. We spoke briefly last night at about 5 to 1.
Okay.
I was telling you about a breathing technique.
Oh, yes.
I was fortunate to get through to you because the lady on switch thought I was talking about a breeding technique.
We would have included that.
Anyway. So I've been talking to my friend Ian, and he tells me that me and you have a... Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, he tells me that we have something in common. A couple of things. We used to be psychiatric nurses, and you used to play rugby.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so to the breathing there. When a psychiatric nurse...
Say again?
In 1995, I became interested, fascinated by anxiety management. I noticed that people who were getting very agitated started to breathe from the chest. And I had a little think about it, and I came up with a different way of breathing called the 5-stage breath. And I think I briefly explained it to you last night. So typically, I would speak to an individual who was in a state of distress. And I'd ask them 10 questions. The first 5 would be about how they were feeling in their body. So I'll be asking to score out of 10, with 10 being the maximum, how sweaty were the palms, how bad were the palpitations or the experience of the heart beating, how bad were the butterflies in the stomach, how bad were the pins and needles in their extremities, and have I mentioned butterflies in the stomach?
You have, yeah,
Anyway.
but we don't need to go through the list of things you would ask them. But you would establish, one presumes you had a reason for asking those questions, which would tell you what?
Well, it would tell me how distressed they were, because I'd then ask 5 questions about their mental state.
Right. Well, don't give us the list of those. Just tell us, once you've asked those questions, you've got a level of their distress. What would you glean from the questions about their mental state?
I would glean that they were no longer as distressed as they were. One of the questions I would ask was, how long have you had sweaty palms for? All my life would be a common response. Sweaty palms is an example of being in fight and flight, in other words, being scared. This has an effect on the way that you think. So you experience what we call cognitive distortions. You can't think effectively. And so I would say to them, would you be happy if your palms were to be dry in 5 minutes? Oh, yes, they'd say. I'd teach them the 5-stage breath, and I'd have asked them, and they could have come out with a score of 10 out of 10 for the maximum sweatiness of the palms, 9, 8, 7. I'd teach them the 5-stage breath. If and when they successfully accomplished the 5-stage breath, I would then ask them, how sweaty are your palms? And they might say, well, feel them. They're not sweaty at all.
Right.
I'd ask them, how tight is your chest? They'd say, oh, it's 8 out of 10. There'd be an audible wheeze. I could hear them wheezing. I'd teach the 5-stage breath. The wheeze would disappear. The levels of suicidality might go from 10 out of 10 to 0. Oh, actually, I'm all right now, love. Levels of cognitive distortions, stuff like that. How pessimistic are you about the future? What's your level of anxiety?
We're back going through a list of questions, Mick, which I prefer not to spend my time listening to be honest. Just a list of questions. I'm more interested in how you came up with the process. Are you claiming, I'm not challenging you, but are you claiming you invented it, or did you learn of it from somewhere?
No, I invented it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, when all you do is you breathe. I noticed that I was, well, I still am. I was immersed in Buddhism at the time, and in Buddhism, body and mind are one. So if you've got sweaty palms and you can feel your heart bursting out of your chest, you're going to feel very anxious. You might feel suicidal. You might be experiencing voices, hearing voices telling you what a worthless piece of shit you are, etc. And you calm down, you get rid of the sweaty palms, you get rid of the tightness in the chest, get rid of the palpitation, and lo and behold, you no longer feel suicidal, you're no longer hearing voices. Now, this is what I discovered in 1995. And as the years went by, I found that it was helpful in, first of all, the treatment of anxiety with probable...
When you say the treatment, usually the word treatment is reserved for medical professionals, which in terms of doctors and things like that, you're not. But you say it works, which is fine, you're entitled to make that claim. Has it been peer-reviewed? Has it been reviewed by the medical profession?
Well, the problem was...
Is that yes or no?
I wrote a paper called On Becoming a Dab Hand, as in deep abdominal breathing.
Yeah, let's see if we can get an answer. So has it been assessed by medical professionals, was the question?
Right, and I'm trying to answer that question.
Well, you can say yes or no, so then they're answered. It either has been, or it hasn't been.
If you'd
all
like
right,
to listen to what I'm saying.
No, I don't want to listen to it until I know what you're going to tell me, because you're advocating a treatment process which I can't validate on here, and I don't know whether it could be harmful. And you say, of course it won't, but I don't know. And so I'm asking you whether it's been validated by medical professionals, and you seem unable to say yes it has, or no it hasn't. And I don't know. Pardon?
Right, you're talking about peer review.
I'm just asking you whether it... listen, Mick, we don't need to banter words. I've asked you whether it has been assessed by medical professionals. The answer is yes or no. Which is it?
Oh, for goodness sake.
Indeed, for goodness sake, it's exactly what I was on about. I just want to avoid badness. 0800 218 2255. If I invented something, I would know whether the professionals in the thing that I'd invented had checked it or not. And if the answer was no, I'd prevaricate when asked. How do, Simon?
How do, Allan? Definitely a legend, you know, mate. I'll give you that. With regards to two previous calls, I think what Matt Hancock, well, for a start, he definitely looks like a German out of Hello Hello. I used to watch that on a Sunday. He definitely looks like a German out of Hello Hello. What he said in the WhatsApp message, there's a group WhatsApp messages that have been going around. He didn't say antennas, so I correct Mark. He actually said microchips on behalf of Bill Gates. But what I wanted to tell you was two conversations I had when I was sleeping rough outside Downing Street. I was outside Downing Street. One of the things I was requesting, or demanding, if you like, was a live televised debate between the SAGE Committee and the World Doctors Alliance. But two conversations I had that stand out for me. One was with some very senior police officers who reminded me that he met me at Wembley, and then he said, we're researching into what you're posting over there on the wall, and we're watching some of your podcasts and we've listened to some of your songs, and you're starting to make us believe the government are trying to kill our families, and we'll be joining you soon. And that was senior officers in the Met Police. Another
Yeah, well,
one was in
we all know how good they are, don't we? Do have a good night. 0800 218 2255. The day somebody says to me, the Metropolitan Police is my authority, they've said, yes, I'm doing good stuff. And then, quite frankly, I would wonder. I was like, hang on a minute. Metropolitan Police, as far as we can see, are not even that good at being police, from what we've been reading recently. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, you can. I appear to be running the awkward squad tonight, but that's fine. I'm perfectly comfortable running the awkward squad. It's easy when you naturally awkward. 0800 it is 0800 218 2255. We're here until 1 o'clock, which is good. How do Neil?
Oh, thank you, Chief. Yeah, just cut out then before, so just straight back on right away. So, yeah, I'd just like to mention the football match tonight, England v Ukraine. They were playing, yeah, and it was lovely. And then when they come on, not about the game itself, but when they come on at the beginning, you know, they unfolded the banner saying peace, both teams. And I think it was lovely. That it just reminds me of Nicole from the Eurovision, a little P-D-D-D-D. So it was a lovely one, that, yes. So that's one. But I'd like to mention there was another game on beforehand, at dinner time on BBC One. It was Man City versus Chelsea, the Super League, the ladies. Yeah. So they had.
They call it women's, really. They prefer to call it women's football, but yeah, go on.
What? So can I not?
Yeah, no,
women, ladies.
Well, no, it's not. They call it. It's just what it's called. It's called women's football. Such is life. I was only trying to get him to say the right thing, but there you are. They don't call it ladies' football because that would be a little. It gives a sort of graceful thing, whereas football is many things, but graceful, I'm not sure. Anyway, it's called women's football, and that's what they prefer, and it's only right and proper that that's what we give to them, isn't it? 0800 218 2255. I'm trying to think. Why would a woman not want it? It's like that thing when you hold a door open for a woman, and I don't know why I still do it, because it is in a way patronising, isn't it? And yet I still do it, and I do my level best. I've spent 74 years in a sexist world, so it's hard not to be sexist, but I try not to be. And yet I still hold the door open if there's a woman approaching. Mind you, I do it for blokes as well, so I don't know. But if you call a woman, there's a certain group of women who call them ladies, they are less than pleased. And, they're entitled to whatever title they wish to choose for themselves. Let's have a look at tomorrow morning's newspapers. Harry scores again. It's the front page of The Sun. It's about Harry Styles, who I believe is a singer, isn't he? Maybe he's a footballer. No, he looks more like a singer. Snog's supermodel Emily. There you are. Daily Telegraph. Rishi, we need F-16s. So when you just heard that gentleman saying that, Neil, saying that the teams held up signs saying peace, well, some of the spectators held up signs saying, give us something with which to kill Russians, which is hardly peace. Don't make it wrong. PM targets beggars in the crackdown on crime. Oh, fantastic. That's what we need. We haven't mistreated beggars enough, have we, over the years? We really need to get onto it again. Safe routes to be open for 20,000 migrants a year. Right, bugger if you turn and the queue's 20,000 long and you just add to it and they say, oh, them are coming in, but you, mate, you're 20,001, you're not coming in. 0800 218 2255. The Daily Mail front page. Sex offenders let off crimes just by saying sorry. Over 1,000, including rapists, according to the Daily Mail. Over 1,000 sex offenders have avoided criminal records over the past 2 years by apologising to their victims. So no court action, none of that. And you have to wonder, what message does that send out? But I can understand if a woman, occasionally men are raped, but it's almost always women. I can understand a woman saying, well, if he'll come and apologise and it doesn't go any further, then I don't have to go to court as the accuser and the witness and be dragged hither and thither by his lawyers. So I can understand why a woman might choose that course rather than face the abomination that a court can be, even if you're not the person that's committed the offence, you're the victim. But it's a disturbing tale, isn't it? Because it means these guys are doing what they've done and then walking away not scot-free, but considerably less punishment than they might otherwise expect, because if they go to court and they're convicted of rape, of course, they get a very long sentence, quite understandably. And the I newspaper, Sunak moves to calm Tory nerves ahead of the crunch vote on small boats. That's just about to happen. The Times, over 800 sewage spills per day. And Braverman, according to the Times, is a puppet for Tory rebels. Pointless tests are delaying cancer care, the NHS is warned. What do they mean by pointless tests? We'll have to have a read of that tomorrow. 0800 218 2255. How do, Robbie?
How do you do, Al?
Very well, thank you.
Good, man. I was going to talk about chemicals in food.
Okay.
So I've got a fella in work that I work with, Brian, and he's always banging on about chemicals in food, especially in these sausages nowadays. Like, these sausages are made out of chemicals. Like, obviously it's meat grounded down and whatnot. When he's talking about chemicals and sausages, do you know anything about chemicals in food?
Well, there are chemicals in food. I mean, if they add vitamins to a food, it's a chemical vitamin. Salt is a chemical. So, yes, there are chemicals in food. Food itself is in many ways a chemical. And it depends what those chemicals are. Preservatives are a chemical.
Just wanted to ask, so how many sausages can you fit in your bum?
I'll do Arnold.
Oh, yeah, Alan. Let me. Laughter, Alan. Laughter tickles your ribs, doesn't it, when you laugh?
It does what to your ribs?
So what makes you cough, Alan? Tobacco makes you cough, doesn't it? Tobacco.
Well, it doesn't make me cough. I don't use it.
Yeah, and alcohol can give you an hangover, can't it, Alan? Alcohol.
Sorry?
Alcohol can give you a hangover. When was the last night out, Alan? Did you used to go out regular around Manchester?
No.
Think you did?
No.
What affiliation? When you go in Paris, Prince Charles, King Charles, not going to France now, Alan.
No, he's had to postpone it.
Yeah. Is it because of the riots or something?
Yeah, the president of France was concerned that they might not be able to protect him properly. Yeah, or it would take too much effort to protect him.
But I do like the Royal Family, Alan, but when Prince Andrew went out with 2 stars in the 80s from Australia.
I do remember, yes.
Yeah. Street at Twickenham, America Row. It was good assets. All the papers. Who did you like best on? Linda Luciano or Samantha Fox?
I neither like nor dislike either of them.
No, I was thinking, what you've been thinking about tonight, Alan? I know, did you actually, while you're on the show, say, conversing, etc., you actually think abstract thoughts? What is it about the brain, Alan? Can you, the Deep Blue Sea, the devil on the Deep Blue Sea, remember that one, Alan?
I've heard the expression, yeah.
That was bad, wasn't it? The Morecambe Cocklepickers, that was bad, wasn't it, the Morecambe Cocklepickers. And the Abergavenny Mine Slide, bad, quarry onto school in Wales. That was a bad earthquake, wasn't it, Alan, in Turkey?
Yeah, it wasn't Abergavenny that
where was it?
Aberfan.
Aberfan, yeah. I mean, now, do you like Wales better than Scotland, Alan, or Paris? Where do you, if you live anywhere country-wise, I lived in Barcelona. Where would you live? The races, Accrington, where would you live?
I would live in Wales. By coincidence, that's where I do live.
Welsh Gaelic, Alan, by the way?
Not really, no.
Sad, isn't it?
I'm not
How are
really.
your new neighbours? Are they all right? Your new neighbours all right with you? Or? Your new neighbours. How long you lived there now?
2.5 years, I suppose.
Oh, yeah. What? Oh, yeah. So how long was you in your last house? Was you back in Warrington?
No, but I was in it for 20 odd years.
Where was that?
It was in a place called Atherton.
What, Atherton, Bolton?
Near Bolton, yeah. Near all of those places, yeah.
Hospitals are changing, aren't they? Like, rebuilding. Council estates are changing. Police stations are changing. Magistrates. I just say like to say, there are some heinous, a big word for me, H-E-I-N-O-U-S, heinous crimes. What are these criminals do, things like that, Alan? You hear about that Hamburg shooting in Germany the other week? 8 Jehovah's Witness.
I do.
Yeah. I'd like to congratulate you on your long service, anyway.
Right then.
You get a gold watch on your time.
I very much doubt it.
Yeah. Do you like cheese and wine evenings on?
No.
What sort of evenings do you like when you're available to...
I like evenings when I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. Hey, I'm thinking about that. I work hard, with ashtrays and pub. You mentioned micro pub. A lot of new micro pub down. Have you noticed?
I know what one is, but I've never been in one.
Would you like... what song are you playing at 1 o'clock? Are you still got the same one?
Yes, it's always the same one. It's just before 1 o'clock.
Yeah. So, you'll be in next Saturday, won't you? Come rain or shine.
Oh, well, come rain, shine or death, yeah.
Yeah, Hey, I'm thinking about that. So, what are you doing for Easter? You go to any services?
No.
My dad used to go, well, I don't know, but you shouldn't talk ill of the dead, should you?
Well, it doesn't matter, they're dead.
No. Well, my dad said £1,000 a day every night, a grand a day, or a blank checkbook. And my mum said to my dad, there must be a God, Jerry, my mum, Angela, I think there is a God, Alan, deep down in my soul, do you? Or not? Yes.
Well, I personally don't think there's such a thing as a God by the usual definition, no.
Yeah. What would you define as muscular? Who was the best bodybuilder? Arnold Schwarzenegger? Or Incredible Hulk, Lou Ferrigno? Oh, Charles Atlas, he had sand kicked in his face, didn't he, Alan?
Well, that was what the advertisement... That was what the advertisement said.
Yeah. What would you do if you didn't do this job, Alan? What other job? Would you go back to nursing or prison work?
No, I don't think they'd have me back at nursing. I don't think, however desperate they are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what's your view on Joe Brand? What's your view on the ex-psychiatric nurse? She made it away in life. Oh, did you know Steve Coogan was in my class at school the year above?
What do you mean? He was either in your class or he was in the year above. Which was it?
2 years above. Paul Scholes, the Man United footballer, he was 2 years below.
Right.
You met American? Yeah, Alan. You met American?
No.
You met any boxers?
Yeah, I've met some.
Yeah. Quite a respectable trade boxer, if you can climb the rank.
I don't know whether it's respectable. I don't know whether it can be described.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's realistic, yeah.
I don't know whether it can be described as a trade, but it's certainly a way to make a living, and not an easy way at that. Yeah. But good to hear from you. Sorry?
All the best. Happy Easter.
Indeed, it's not far away. 0800 218 2255. Want to join us? How do Ted?
Well, it's on, kid. Just to say, the earth, it's blue in it, the earth in it.
There's a lot of it that's blue when you look at it from a long, long way away.
Well, the seventh planet from the sun is Neptune. That's blue. And the seventh planet from the sun is Uranus. then the 8th planet from the sun is Neptune, and they're blue. And they've got clouds on them and all.
Right.
So that's 3 in it. That's our Earth and Neptune and Uranus in this system that we're in, this galaxy.
Okay. And what?
You believe in life, Alan, like other worlds and that, or could make like other worlds?
It's hard to argue that, given the size of the world, the universe and all the rest of it, outer space, it's hard to argue that this little blip called Earth is the only thing that's got what we would recognise as life on it. So I can't bring myself to say it doesn't exist. Statistically, there's a grand opportunity that it does, but I don't know that there's any evidence of it doing so.
Well, you know giants, Alan. I've seen a giant. His legs was as big as the door, and his body and his head. Me and my brother were playing with him now. They found a giant's head as big as your mum's kitchen when she lived there. As big as your mum's kitchen, a giant's head. They found it, Alan. Two guys of our size were sitting on his chin.
Right. Well, the tallest person ever, as far as I can see, was about 8'6".
Well, they don't like to show you things. Did you look at the Vatican now and they've got things there?
Whether they like to show you things or not, it would appear that they showed them to you.
Well, they're showing them now.
Right. Well,
the information
Robert Wadlow was generally known as the tallest man ever, and he was 8 foot 11.1 inches when he was measured 18 days before he died. He was 8 foot 11.1 inches. He died in 1940. I very much suspect that his head wasn't as big as our kitchen. But it might
Look at Goliath and the giant. Look at David and the giant. They've never found it. Have they?
Well, I don't know whether they've even looked, but no, they haven't. I suspect they didn't find David's either, and they certainly didn't find the slingshot.
Well, maybe they found them and they're not saying nothing because it might frighten the kids.
They may well have found them and not saying nothing. They may well have thought, we found this skeleton and the head is the size of my mother's kitchen, but let's not tell anybody. There's every chance that's what happened. Every chance.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, kid. Thank you.
My pleasure. 0800 218 2255. How do Arthur?
Good evening, sir. It's Arthur. I did try to get through last night, but you were very busy. Regarding the follow-on from last night's conversations regarding various callers, regarding the so-called existence of a so-called God, which, by the way, I do not believe exists. I'm not religious in any way. Would you say that for every left there has to be a right?
In order to define something as a left, I suppose you would need to have a right, but I don't know that both of them need to exist, or indeed either of them need to exist.
Well, if you have something that's up, there has to be something down.
Indeed, otherwise...
And for every in, there has to be an out. There has to be an opposite.
Well,
so if there was the so-called God above, then there must be what was classed as a devil or a Satan.
That's what the belief systems of many religions say. Yes.
Interesting. answered why does thou so-called, if God does exist, why does he allow humans to cause so much mayhem every day on our planet?
Well, I suppose the answer is that by his standards, and that is he's been alive forever and will be alive forever, the little trivial palavers that go on this one planet in the solar system aren't of much concern to him, really.
Did he therefore invent or create dinosaurs and cavemen in the Stone Age era?
I'm afraid I'm not his spokesperson, but they came into being somehow, and those who believe in an almighty, omnipotent being called God could easily believe that that same individual created dinosaurs. I don't know. I don't know that they're referred to much in many religions, but they might be.
Yeah, but if it's a God, then surely there also must be a Satan or a devil.
If you work on the basis that there has to be an opposite to everything, yeah.
Good. That was my main question.
Right.
I'll leave it to that. Let's see what other people think about that then.
Okay. Have a good night. It's interesting. Is it theological? I'm not sure. If God created man, and God created the lizards and the snakes and the dogs and the cats and the sheep and the goats, then did he also, all that time ago, did he create the dinosaurs? And if so, why did he get so cross at them and wipe them out? Perhaps we're next. There's every possibility. I know where I'd start. How do, Trevor?
There's definitely every possibility. Good evening, Alan.
Good evening.
So, first of all, I wanted to give a bit of applause to BBC One, because this evening I think they've had 3 hours, successive hours of great telly, beginning with Wild Isles with Attenborough, which is just extraordinary, I think.
I saw the adders mating. Wasn't so keen on that. Looked like a poisonous ball of string.
I mean, a carnivore caterpillar that lives in ants' nests, eats ant larvae.
Yeah.
Extraordinary. And eagles, they were quite big on eagles, and it's fascinating how much effort goes into catching the shots they want to get. There's a shot of an eagle grabbing a goose, basically, and it's just quite
I've got in trouble for that more than once.
You've got into trouble for all sorts of things, mate, over the years. Anyway, yeah, but so there was Wild Isles, which I think it genuinely is remarkable telly. Then we moved on to the Antiques Roadshow, which today came from the Palm House in Sefton Park.
Oh, was it?
Liverpool. And that was, I'm not a regular watcher, I must be truthful, of the show, but this was very interesting because of the venue, because of some of the items which had local interest to people on Merseyside, and also a piece about the Chinese community in Liverpool, and a fascinating interview with Stephen Yip about his family and the way Chinese seamen were treated after World War II, and basically just expelled, despite all the work they'd done and put themselves in harm's way during the war, among other things, and so on. So, I mean, I just thought that was a really interesting edition of it, not just because of the pieces that people brought along, but also bits of background like that.
Yeah, they've sort of broadened the production values, haven't they? It used to just be watching people get really disappointed or overjoyed at the value of their tackle, or their tat. and it could be entirely different things. And now they've broadened it. And what I didn't realise, I mean, I've watched it a few times over the decades, and what I didn't realise was how much of it's rigged. Rigged is a pejorative, but they have spotters going out and finding stuff, and then they turn up with it. You know, so when the lady turns up with a £1 million piece of furniture, she's not brought that in the back of the car. You know, and say, how much is this worth? Right, me auntie 19 times removed, Lord Littlebattle used to own this. He stole it from the Greeks, you know. And they don't. You know, it's a fiddle in that respect. I mean, they're making a telly programme. It's nothing else. But still, the best bit is when they say, how much did you pay for it? He said, 20 quid. He said, what's it worth? He said, 15. Oh, great. Those are always my favourites.
That's just the nasty side to you coming out yet again, really.
It's not a side. It's right the way through.
But anyway, the setting was great, and the palm house is magnificent, as indeed you might have found out last September under different circumstances.
The palm house I know anyway, because when I was nursing at Sefton, it was derelict.
Yes,
absolutely derelict.
Done a remarkable job.
Oh, it's superb, superb. Yeah.
So that was the second of the trio, and the final one of the trio is a new adaptation of Great Expectations.
Is it any good?
I thought it was good. I mean, to be honest, what one of the things that provoked me to watch it, as it were, was the criticism being heaped upon it before transmission by certain newspapers, possibly you might say the usual suspects, that the fact there's a bit of swearing in it, and it has been criticised as being woke, but anyway, I thought it was very good, and dramatic and impressive. But everyone will make their own opinion of it. I mean, I guess if you're a traditionalist, maybe it strays a bit from Dickens' vision, but then a lot of adaptations have, including the Great Expectations famous film with David Lean, which took some liberties as well. So
yeah, you kind of have to, don't you? Otherwise, you've got to do every page by page, and then you've got yourself a 2-year documentary series, or they're making telly and they're grabbing the story and adapting it so it's a visual presentation rather than reading it in a book.
Indeed. Well, anyway, for what it's worth, I thought it was well worth a watch. And two sort of related things. Have you got a definition for woke? It's used a lot, and I still haven't come up with a one I found satisfactory.
Yeah, I think the definition is the Daily Mail don't like it.
Well, that's close to my view, I have to say.
It's not racist enough, that sort of thing, you know.
I like that. Yeah, thank you. But apparently also Agatha Christie is now being read, and again, this is a big story in some of the papers. Agatha Christie is now being read by sensitivity editors in case there's anything offensive therein, and new editions can be published in kind of edited version, and we're back to the furore over Roald Dahl and stuff. But,
I know. There's a brilliant series at the moment on Radio 4. It's on at 9:45 in the mornings, just 15 minutes before Woman's Hour, and we all run screaming from the room. But it's like they did all 5 days last week, and they're doing this week, and it's the story of a particular man who tells his tale as a black man in the southern United States. And of course, they warn you beforehand that there's going to be things in this that may offend you, including, they don't specifically say so, but I've only heard it once, to be fair, but including the N-word, because this guy uses it in a description of what people said to him, you know. So in that context, I wouldn't do it, but you know, people do, and I can understand.
He's coming from a very different place, isn't he?
Indeed, and he's, you know, he says, they would say, well, you're nothing but a...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's not a word I would want to use.
No, of course not.
And they do give you a warning beforehand, and it's Radio 4, you know, it's grown-up wireless.
Yeah, a bit like your programme is from time to time.
Yeah, from time to time.
A couple of other scientific stories that I've picked up on. Scientists have apparently used 3D printers, not something, the concept I quite get, to be honest, but apparently they've now used 3D printers to create cheesecake.
Cheesecake?
Yes. And quite how you 3D print a cheesecake that apparently is edible, as it were. I'm a bit of a loss, really. It's a bit beyond me scientifically, shall I say. But there was that. Weird. And then there's fungi rock, which appears to be an emerging music form. Have you come across this concept?
What is it? People are singing mushroom songs. I suppose Lonnie Donegan was the first.
My old man's mushroom?
A dustman, yeah. My old man's a dustman.
Yeah.
My dustbin's full of toadstools because there's not mushroom inside. They are fungi rock.
There we go. Always good to have a chance to repeat an old joke, as it were.
Absolutely.
I should indeed know. But apparently it involves sensors attached to mushroom roots.
Right.
And mushrooms use electrical impulses to communicate with plants and trees.
Yeah.
Well, I must admit I didn't, but then I'm ignorant on so many things. But they use electrical, and in some way this is kind of transformed into music. And the particular guy who I read an article about also goes to raves where plants are connected to synthesizers and drum machines, and people dance to the sound created.
Oh, my word. Oh, that's fabulous.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
I mean, if it's little electrical pulses, it must have been craft work, but they're more interested in cheese. I thank you.
Oh, you're full of the
you're still crap, yeah.
The stand-up world missed. Can I end with one final quick serious thing? I don't know if you've seen this story. I think it's quite extraordinary. You will know that the NHS is currently has something like 150,000 less professionals than it needs. There is apparently a report out which has been leaked, as most reports seem to be these days, from the NHS itself, saying that unless drastic action is taken, they believe the NHS could be short of 570,000 medical professionals by, I think, 2036. Now, I mean, all these estimates are to an extent guesswork, aren't they, really? But it's a frightening thought. And the report apparently says the government needs a plan to train and recruit and retain a lot more medical staff. And the cynic in me says they've had 13 years, and I haven't seen any significant plan along those lines, little bits around the edges. And in fact, the only major announcement I've seen recently is that the government has said the NHS should make a lot more use of private medicine to speak.
Indeed, but also, to be fair to the Chancellor, this budget just gone, he did change the pension rules, which a lot of people said, well, it just helps the rich, and that's true, but it has meant that a number of consultants in the health service have decided to stay on, and some have even said that they will return, because the thing they disliked intensely was the idea that they'd be working and they couldn't contribute to their pensions, which I think had a maximum of $1 million, which is a lot of money in a pension, right. But, you know, and so that will help. I mean, it's not going to change the face of the NHS, but that will help. So it's not they're doing nothing, they've just perhaps come late to the party, some might say.
And perhaps a little way to go. Anyway, thanks for the chat as always, Alan.
Right, have a good night. 0800 218 2255, and I too watched. I only watched half of the David Attenborough thing because I was busy doing other stuff, but I saw the snakes bit, which was interesting, but not a little disconcerting. All those snakes wriggling together, and I saw the stags banging their heads together like our teachers used to make us do, and all that palaver. But the thing I liked the most was, like Trevor, in Scotland. We were up in Scotland having a bit of a walking do, and they have them up there. We saw a golden eagle. We also saw the sea eagle, which was fantastic. I think the best bird sighting I've ever had, and was extremely surprised by it. I was lying on a sun lounger, which is not something I do much of, in Spain, just minding my own business. And I looked up and there were some black birds circling. And then I got my, because they were quite high, I got my binoculars and looked, and they were vultures. I thought, I'm going to keep moving a bit, just move a leg every now and then, which is very strange. And on that same holiday, we saw, it looked like pollution in the far distance on the horizon. It just looked like pollution because there was a great pink haze. And we said to the woman who owned the house we were staying in, we said, well, what is that? And she said, it's flamingos. They're just going, there's a lake just there, and they go to that lake every day. And it was, we drove there the next day, and there they were, all pecking away. Extraordinary creatures. Anyway, such is life. 0800 218 2255. How do Elizabeth?
Good evening.
Good evening.
You mentioned birds. I heard a story that a seagull actually picked up a chihuahua and ran off with it. Anyway,
really?
I phoned up. Yeah, it was in the paper. I hope you're well, and I hope you're not going to leave. But I've been not listening as much. I've been reading my Bible. Anyway, you mentioned Shirley Temple. Her mother got propositioned once, and she got flashed at as a child. She mentioned it in an interview on TV. Anyway, somebody phoned up to mention about God. If there's a God, there must be a devil.
Yeah.
Well, there is a God, there is a devil, and all who call on the name of Jesus will be saved. And you said something before that couldn't be further than the truth. You said that God wouldn't be interested in this world. Well, this is how good, kind and gracious God is. That he loves us so much. If you lose a button off your shirt and it upsets you and you prayed for that button, I'm sure God would help you. So if he cares for someone enough that something so trivial can bother them, it's definitely proof he cares about the earth.
Well, I wasn't saying he didn't care. I was saying that he's not going to trouble himself with the machinations of the earth because it's such a tiny proportion of all that he surveys, if indeed he's a he and if indeed he exists. The universe and beyond is all of his. So the earth's just a speck of dust.
It is, but it's created by God, and even though in comparison to the whole universe it does seem small, he cares about us so much.
Okay.
He will be back again.
So let me just question a bit about the shirt button, because I find that fascinating. If I lose a shirt button, what do I have to do?
You. If it bothers you, then it bothers God. That's just one example.
Well, indeed, but the bit that I was interested in was when you went on to say, if it bothers you, he will find it.
No, I didn't say if it bothers you, he will find it. But what I'm saying is, to be honest with you, I did a church I used to go to. A pastor there mentioned it, and she lost a button, and she prayed to find this little button, and she did find it. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is, I'm not saying every single person who prays to find a button will find it. Life doesn't work like that. But what I'm saying is, we've got an almighty God out there that loves us so much that he wants to please us and help us in any way he can. Now, the other person that phoned up before said, well, if there's a God out there, why isn't he helping? Well, it's a fallen world. There is a devil, and the devil's constantly 24 hours a day trying to ruin everyone's life and make problems in their life, and God is trying to help them.
Well,
but unless we ask God for help, he can't help us, can he?
If God is, I can help people without them asking me, but then I'm perhaps kinder than God. I don't need
Well, he
payment.
does do that as well, but he can help us much more when we ask.
Indeed, and sometimes no matter how much we ask, he does nothing.
It's not straightforward.
It's not straightforward.
There is a devil.
So the devil.
Can I explain? A lot of people have the foot in a. Sorry. A lot of people have the foot in a lot of camps. They will mess with spiritualism. They'll go and read the horoscopes. They will mess with psychics, clairvoyance, and all these evil things that they're not meant to mess with. Even reading horoscopes, you're contacting something for advice and guidance that's probably putting people on the wrong road in life, the wrong road in life. But if we ask God for guidance, he can help us. Now, God gives us free will. We can choose our will or God's will. So if we submit to God and call on the name of Jesus and find Jesus and ask for God's guidance, it's the perfect guidance. He doesn't promise a rose garden on this earth, but he does help us and bring us through our problems. But all who call on the name of Jesus will be saved and make it to heaven for eternity with pavements of gold.
What use
but we can't have our foot in a camp of spiritualism and then go and blame God.
What use would God be? Would gold be in heaven? It's got pavements of gold. Why? Nobody's got any legs, have they?
Because it's beautiful.
Well, pavements are rarely beautiful.
No, we will be similar to how we are now. When Jesus came, Jesus who is God, when he came in human form, he came in a human body. And when he rose from the dead 3 days later, he had his new resurrection body that could just vanish here and there.
I was wondering what the merit. I was wondering what the merit of gold was in heaven. I mean, why gold?
Pavements of gold.
Well, pavements of gold, trees of gold.
There's plenty to do. We will work. You might be a DJ there. You never know if you call on the name of Jesus. We will become young again.
I've never been a DJ. I don't want to be 33 again, to be honest. But I'm still trying to work out. I'm still trying to work out what's the point of gold in heaven. It's just a rock.
Do you not think it looks beautiful and shiny? Do you like looking at black tarmac on the floor?
Well, I prefer it to be on the floor, but I neither like nor dislike. It's just serviceable, and I certainly don't think gold's pretty. It's just a
don't you?
lump
Do you
of
like
metal.
silver? Maybe you'll get silver then.
Neither.
You'll have a silver mansion.
There isn't any point to it. In this world, gold is valuable because you can use it to change for money, which you can then spend however you wish.
Yeah, it's not
are you telling me when I get to heaven I'm going to have lots of gold? But if everybody's got lots of gold, then the gold's worthless.
No, the pavement will be gold.
The pavement will be gold. Right, the gold. Loads and loads of gold pavements. So that's solid, isn't it? Gold, really. It's
and there's probably flying cars there, and probably
flying cars
there than here. Probably.
Probably.
I'm guessing
right. Well, it's you wait all, I guess, Mrs. So, pavements and flying cars. Pavements made of gold and flying cars in heaven.
I'm just guessing that
that's got to be worth a couple of Hail Marys, isn't it?
Bible. No,
neither's the streets paved with gold, is it?
Can I just ask you, now you've mentioned Hail Marys, I'm actually a born-again Christian, and most Catholics...
You'd have
are not
never
Christian.
guessed.
But why do you stick up for Catholicism when
I
you
don't.
say you don't believe in God?
I don't stick up for it. I think it's balmy. I think all...
No, God's definitely real.
I was answering your question, that's all.
Sorry.
As far as I'm concerned, all beliefs in God have a value if it gets people to behave in a way that is societally acceptable. But my personal belief...
Well, can I just say something to you then? I can say what I have to say, and we could go around and around in circles. So what I will say, and to anybody, if they happen to be listening, is when they're on their own, when you're on your own, just say, God, if you're real, show me. He's there, he can hear you, he can see you, you can hear this conversation. And ask every day until you're satisfied. Keep asking, and maybe another Christian will tell you something. Maybe somebody will give you a leaflet.
If you're on your own, which is where your sentence began.
No, I don't mean
there won't
right
be
at
another
that
Christian
moment.
there. Oh, I'm sorry.
Not right at that moment.
Right. So if I'm alone and if I'm alone and I say, God, if you exist, show me, and then sometime later a Christian tells me, yes, there's a God.
Yeah,
they'll do that whether I ask or not. You're telling me now.
I'm not saying if you're in your bedroom and you say, God, if you're there, show me, and people will be tapping at the window, putting leaflets through the door there and then.
Indeed not. I'm trying to work out what you did mean when you said, if I am alone, if a person is alone and they say, God, show me that you exist, and he will do. I was rather hoping he'd do it quite soon after I asked.
Well, maybe he will, and a lot.
Well, maybe, but no, Elizabeth, you're doing what politicians do, and that is somebody puts something to you, and you say maybe they will, and then move on to something else. You didn't say maybe they will. You said he will show you. Now, how will I know? How? Listen to the question first, Mrs. For crying out loud! How will I know that God is showing me he exists? How will I know?
Because he will do something for you in a way that you understand.
How will I know he's doing it?
Well, to me, the answer to that is, if somebody says, say for example, I was asking God if he's real to show me, and it has happened to some people, then all of a sudden they could be drawn to a church. The next week, somebody could give them a leaflet. Somebody could preach to them. They could hear
that happens. But Elizabeth, that happens whether I ask or not. I was being given damn leaflets.
Well, it just shows God is looking for you.
No, it doesn't, because you're changing the... Elizabeth, you said if I ask that... You said if I'm glad you think it's funny, because I think the whole of religion's a laugh a bloody minute. But you said if I ask... You said... If I ask, if I am alone and I ask and say,
well,
God...
You don't have to be alone.
Will you shut up for a minute? Let me ask the question and then we can get an answer out of you. Or else just go away. I don't mind which.
Okay.
So, the question is this, Elizabeth. The question is this. You said that if I am alone and I say, God, show me that you exist, he will do so. You then went on to say it wouldn't be immediate, because I thought that you meant that. Listen! So then you went on to say it could be somebody handing me a leaflet. Now, what I want to know, and I don't want to giggle, and I don't want you to... Shut up. I don't want you to giggle. I don't want you to laugh. I don't want you to change the subject. When that person hands me the leaflet, how will I know that's because God has asked them to? Given that, I already get handed leaflets.
Ah, well, God is looking for you then.
Oh, well, I hope he finds me. I hope he finds you as well. How do, Kenny?
How do, Alan? You okay?
Very well, thank you.
I suppose we're referring back to lockdown, which seems an eternity ago, it wasn't that long ago. But the restrictions that were put in place when it first came out, everyone obviously were a bit worried, weren't they, you know?
A bit.
Well, yeah, they came out in March 2020, didn't they, the first restriction?
Yeah, you said a word, I didn't quite grasp it, that's my fault, but you said everybody were a bit, you know, and I don't know what the word was.
Wary.
Wary, okay, yeah.
Which is understandable because we never experienced things like that before.
Quite.
And then I think it dragged on too much and everyone thought, what is actually going on here? It seemed like a bit of weirdness going on to me.
In what way?
Boris Johnson's just having, is in there and he's for partying or something.
Yeah, but when you said it went on too long, it went a bit weird, what do you mean?
It's like it was controlling or something.
Well, it was controlling, wasn't it? It was saying you mustn't do this and you mustn't do that. That is controlling, rather like the speed limit, or what side of the road we drive on, or all those other things that are controlling.
I do understand that, but like when the people implying the laws don't agree to their own laws, that's a bit, when you think back, is ridiculous now.
So we're not talking about lockdown per se, you're talking about the fact that Boris Johnson stands accused of setting the laws and rules.
Well, I'm not just talking about Boris Johnson. No, there's many.
Well, that's the only name you've used so far. Kenny, I can only deal with what you said. And you mentioned Boris, and Boris stands accused of being one of the people that made the rules and then stands accused of breaking them. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah, Matt Hancock wrote rules. The spokesman, can't remember his name, he got fired off in the end. Darwick Bowdead, who drove his car to somewhere.
Right. I know what you mean. So I'm trying to work out what it is you're saying. Are you saying that lockdown was a waste of time, that you've already said it went on too long, but of course it will go on for as long, if you think as a government, if you think that's the way to solve the problem, it'll go on until the problem is solved, one presumes.
Yeah, but the government didn't want to solve it. The government was more interested in, oh God, we don't want this. We'll put rules out to everyone else and they have to obey by them, but we couldn't give two toots.
Well, you're saying the government didn't want to solve it, or are you saying that the government, or members of the government, didn't behave in the way that they were telling us to do so? Those things.
Oh, it's so public, isn't it? Chris Whitty said, he came out and said things to Boris, and Boris said, I can't be bothered with that. So that's all available.
Well, when you say that Boris said to Chris Whitty said something to Boris and Boris said, nah, I can't be doing with that, what are you saying Chris Whitty said to Boris to enlist those?
Asked for an earlier lockdown.
Right. And the government, Boris, said, no, we don't want it yet, we'll get to it if we need to, and then when the government decided we needed to, that's when they got to it, yeah?
Yeah, because in early February they didn't want anything to do with it, then it carried on.
Yeah. So what?
They should have done it in early February and it could have been come and done with. Do you know how much they're charging for tests these days, Alan?
I've no idea. No idea.
I think ridiculous now. People who are buying tests don't buy tests. It's not going to kill you, because if it's going to kill you, you've already been dead by
well, possibly. Your question was, do I know how much they're charging with tests? My answer was, no, I do not. Do you?
That's £3.
There we go. So we got there. So what is it you're saying now? You've said that Boris didn't...
I'm basically saying to anybody who buys a COVID test, or I've got COVID, don't worry about it, because if you've got COVID, it means that you'll survive, and it's not as If you've got flu, you need to worry. If you've got COVID, don't worry about it. You're fine.
So are you telling me? Are you telling me that all those people who the government claims died of COVID didn't do so? Is that what you're saying?
Oh well, no, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, how many people die of flu and COVID? You know what I'm saying, Alan. Flu is lethal.
No, Kenny. If I knew what you were saying, I wouldn't keep asking you questions to try and find out. So
well, what do you
I don't
think's worse, flu or COVID?
I've no idea. No idea.
Well, you do.
Okay, I do. Kenny, we don't need to have this conversation anymore because you know everything I know and I know everything you know, and so we needn't converse, need we? Or should we carry on conversing so we can find out what you know and not care a monkey's stuff about what I know? So what are you saying? Are you saying that COVID no longer matters? A yes-no answer would suffice.
Yes.
So you are saying that COVID
But it's
no longer
basically
matters.
took over flu.
Hang on. Now I'm confused because you were saying it doesn't matter. Because I asked you a yes/no and you said yes, I'm saying it doesn't matter. And now you're
Well,
saying
you would have cut me off otherwise. That's the reason I said that.
well, no, you could have said no. I offered you no as an alternative.
But I think this COVID nonsense is just an excuse for everything. Just like the Ukraine war.
When you
and energy bills going up.
So COVID is an excuse for everything.
Not an excuse for everything, but it was definitely over exaggerated because I didn't leave my flat for a year because I've got issues and I didn't leave my flat. And now I think back, I look at it, I think, what an idiot I am for believing all them idiots.
Okay.
You must understand that.
I understand what you're saying. Whether I agree with it is completely immaterial. It's what you're saying. It's your point of view.
Well, you will, but you won't say.
Well, I'm grateful again to you for telling me my opinion. I'm always helped by people who tell me my opinion, as if they know. And you then went on to say, like the Ukraine war. Are you suggesting that that's not happening?
The Ukraine war's happening, but the energy bill crisis is blamed on the Ukraine war, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Ah, right. So, right, okay. What is causing the crisis then?
Well, is it not happened just as the war happened, the energy crisis came out? We only get 6% of our gas from Russia.
Indeed. But when the taps were turned off by the Russians, all those countries that get considerably bigger proportions of their gas from Russia then started buying their gas from the same places that we did, so there was less to go round.
What companies are in the most profit in Britain at the minute?
I don't know.
I'll tell you, gas and electricity companies.
Okay.
Was that a fact? You can
I don't know. When you asked me the question, I gave the answer, I don't know, and then you said, I will tell you.
Yeah, but you sometimes go on your computer, so you can go on your computer and look if you want.
Well, my computer won't tell me which companies are making the most money presently because it's too complicated a question to answer in simplistic terms. But I'm happy for you to tell me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I said, who makes
Kenny,
the most profit?
Kenny, when you say who makes the most profit, that's also almost impossible to quantify because my window.
It's been on the news.
Well, fine. Then you obviously believe it. You don't believe anything else on the news, but you believe that. That's fine.
Well, I believe it's fine because it's neither have gone on. If I put my TV on for 7 hours a day, it charges me nearly £4. It's ridiculous.
Right.
And they're all laughing at us.
They're certainly laughing at you, Kenny. Good night. 0800 218 2255. Want to join us? You can. We're here till 1, which is not that far off. It's about an hour. But 0800 218 2255. You can talk about anything you wish. You can make all the outlandish statements you wish. But if you do, I'm obviously going to ask you to explain them to me. Like, apparently, if I sit alone and I say, God, please let me know you exist, and then a fortnight later I'm given a leaflet by some godbotherer in the town That's God trying to contact me. So God, if you are listening, and apparently he listens, or she listens to lots and lots of people all over the place, God, please don't give me the bloody leaflet. 0800 218 2255. Here's Marvin. I don't know who Dandy was, but there you are. I used to read a comic when I was a kid, but then I read Beano as well. 0800 218 2255. Marvin Gaye, Sexual Healing. If you want to join us, we're here till 1, which is about an hour off. So that's fine. Close enough, isn't it? 0800 218 2255. How do Tracy?
Oh, hello, yo. Alan. Now then. Get on this. Right. So, Alan, you know, voting. You have to get off your sorry arse, walk there, do the deed, innit? Take your bloody proof that you pay your council tax and all that with you. Get on this, Alan. All of a sudden, you have to have photo ID. Well, who's paying for that? And who the hell thinks I'm going to walk round with a bloody badge and a picking picture on it like some fucking simpleton?
Please don't use that language.
Sorry.
Okay, don't do it again.
What did I say? I swear?
You said the F word, don't say it again.
Oh, forgive me. You know, Queen English, you know. What do you think, though, Alan?
I don't really. I mean, the politicians appear to be concerned that some people might be voting who have no right to vote or are voting more than once, which happens a bit in Northern Ireland. There's very little evidence of it happening in mainland Britain.
Yeah, but get real. How many refugees are in the country now? That's what they're saying. So we're all still paying. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I believe save a refugee, you know what I mean? If someone is that fit to swim channel, you know, well I'll back them, you know, could be next to Usain Bolt.
I don't think many of the asylum seekers have actually swam the channel. I think they come in boats.
Well, I'm not... Well, that's out of order, isn't it?
Well, the government certainly thinks it's out of order, and lots of people also think it's out of order, but that's what they do.
Unless they're coming in on a ferry, you know.
Well, they won't allow them on the ferry unless they can prove they've got entrance to the UK. You have to go through.
You know what it is, Allan? Right. I haven't got much to do in my life, but I'll tell you something. If you could get me on the border, I'll tell you something. I would not let one pass me without a ticket, you know, because it's not because nothing to. I'm not yo. What I'm saying to you is, when someone comes into your custody, you have to make sure they have a safe passage. You know, so it's one at a time, innit? You know, I mean, in Noah's Ark it might have been two, but in real world it's one at a time.
Well, there were more than two humans in Noah's Ark. The animals were 2 by 2, but there were more than two humans.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, don't you?
Well, not when you refer to Noah's Ark, no.
Anyway, I rang you about ID. Why? Why do we need photo ID? Do I look like a pigging alien, you know? Why do I have to keep proving myself? I mean, you get to this age and you expect a bit of respect, yo. Oh.
There are times when ID is quite important, and the government seem to be moving towards the idea of making us prove who we are when we vote.
Listen, if they want to know who I am, I don't need no photo.
Well,
Alan,
you may say
Alan,
you don't. You may say you don't need one, but they don't want you to know who you are. They want them to know who you are.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. Excuse me. Don't give. You know what? They're taking landlines out. All them people in the middle of nowhere. All them people that rely even on the cordless phone. They won't even be able to use that anymore. And we're being rinsed, man. Since they put. You know, I said to you the other week about this bloody big white tower, totem pole totem pole. Someone should take it out. I think that's like a 3-minute warning. Do you remember the 3-minute warning in the 80s? Yeah?
I think it was
a clear war threat.
I think it was a 4-minute warning, but yes, I do remember.
Yeah, well, this is why they go. Why have people suffering from anxiety and panic attacks? Let me tell you why. People ain't bloody blind, Joe, but go. Ain't it?
No, what? Thank you. Have a good night. And Nick.
Hiya, thank you. Allan, my next on the line, yeah?
Yes, if you're Nick.
Allan. Oh, yeah, thank you, mate. I just want to, lots of things I'd like to talk to you about, Allan. I mean, I'd like to sit and have a drink with you something, talk about lots of things, because you're about the cleverest person. You remind me of my old school teacher, Billy Walden, but that's another thing. I'd like to say, first of all, I told the lady on the phone before, when I just make an example, right? I make Sean Dyche, Everton's new manager, yeah?
I wasn't aware.
We're calling this the group of players we've got now. No, the group of players. No, the squad of players. Where did these new words come from? Everybody calls in football it's the squad of players. We're calling the England squad up today. Now it's called the group. Why are they calling the group? And I'd like to know another thing. Why is Harry Kane just being classed as England's number one goal scorer? Oh, he's being called England's men's number one goal scorer. No, he's England's number one goal scorer. Why are they changing all this stuff? I don't know. Like the lady knows, I've been stabbed in my head 18 times and diagnosed with fluctuating memory.
When you say why are they changing it, well, they have the number one goal scorer, and then when a person scores more than them, they become the number one goal scorer.
Oh, why did you say England's men's number one goal scorer?
Well, because they want to distinguish it from the women who also play football, and they want to say, well, this is the man that scored the most playing men's football, and that one is the woman that scored the most playing women's football.
But who are you trying to tell us to? We're not all that, we know exactly who Harry Kane is and who the girl is.
You may well say we know exactly who Harry Kane is, but without the references that you've just given, I have no idea who he is.
Who we distinguish it to, I just don't understand, mate, honestly.
Well, we're telling everybody they're telling everybody that's prepared to listen, and those who didn't know when they listen will know. That's how information works, really.
The thing is, why are they trying to promote women's football? It's been there all along. Why are they trying to,
it has been there for a long time.
Years. But
They want it to increase in popularity, and they seem to be doing quite a good job of that.
You not think, Allan, it's with money and advertisements? I know the BBC don't do advertisements, but don't you think the ITV and all them bang, let's make a few bob out of this, They're trying to do it, get involved,
I think, yes, they may well say if we have women's football, then we may be able to sell more advertising, and the women who play the football will say we'll be able to get paid for it instead of doing it for free as we've done in the past, and who knows, people might enjoy it. And it would seem that people do enjoy it. They're getting quite good crowds now.
Yeah, but quite good crowds. I don't know where you're getting that, but, like you said, they're making money out of it. So BBC don't make money, do you? Or surely not. You don't.
Well, the BBC don't make money out of football. Indeed, they have to pay to show football. But the fact still remains that all the football, all the men's football, if you like, is people making money anyway. So why is it wrong?
Allan,
why is it wrong for women to do so?
Maybe you could have a show about making money out of football,
Well, I wouldn't, because I have no interest in it, but yeah.
Greed, mate. The greed that's involved in football is absolutely disgusting. There's children around the world starving and everything. And these people, you know, like I can't mention no names because I could, but I wouldn't, you know. But all these poor kids starving. I'm talking about women fighting over football. I'm talking about two women who are married to famous footballers, and they're buying £10,000 belts to put around their waist, and then at the same time they're talking about kids starving. £10,000 to put a belt around your waist, and you're paying 10 grand for it, mate. I can't remember the girl's name, honestly. My memory is...
doesn't really matter. If a person has money, they're entitled to spend it in whatever way they please. And whilst lots and lots of people say there's far too much money in football, but I don't know anyone who would turn down that money if it was offered to them for doing their job, whatever that job might be. If somebody said to me, we're going to give you £6 million a year to talk rubbish on the radio, I'd take it.
Yeah. Well done, Alan, but I'm saying about this girl who spends £10,000 on a belt to put around her waist, and at the same time talks about children starving in the world. But anyway, Alan, me and you could set up a radio station, donate to children, and we can call our station to say what you want, swear as much as you want, but don't go too far, you know what I mean, mate?
You can't have a rule that says swear as much as you want but don't go too far, because that's saying swear as much as you want but not more than we want. But have a good night anyway. I already work for the radio station. I don't really need another one. How do Joe?
Hi there, Alan. You okay?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just some advice, Alan, that I needed to talk to you about. See whether or not, obviously, how to help the situation. Basically, I've got a friend, Alan. He's been separated from his wife for about 4 years. They've not gone through no divorce procedure. But you know, the British law, is it after 2 years if you're not living with someone that you're automatically divorced? Is that the case, or?
No.
Right, okay.
There is no automatic divorce. Once married, you are married until you go through the formal process of divorce.
Until the formal process. Because what's happened with me is obviously, I'll tell you, she cheated on him, so they split up. They've been separated for 4 years, and what the mate's gone and done is the mate's gone and changed because they've got a house together, so obviously mortgage, but they've paid the house off and they've changed the name to someone else's name. So what happens there? Will she be entitled to the house still, or?
There's no way I can answer a question like that, because A, I'm not legally trained, and B, it's an impossible question to answer. It's too complicated to say yes, you can have half the house. She might not. He might not. It depends on how the property is split.
Yeah.
The starting point of the division of property within a marriage, when it breaks down, the starting point is 50-50, but that's only the starting point. That's not the end. But that's the rough starting point. So, okay, each is entitled to half, but then there's all sorts of other stuff that has to be taken into consideration.
Right, okay. And what would it affect the situation if they change the name to someone else's name, like change the house?
The names are absolutely immaterial. The names don't matter. It's who the people are that matters. So, if John Smith becomes Billy Beswick, doesn't matter. He is still the same individual.
Right. No, what I'm saying is that they've put the house, like the property, the deeds under someone else's name, like the parents' name.
Well, you can't just put the deeds. We don't have deeds anymore. We have registration of properties, but you can't just say, right, we're changing the name. In order to change the ownership of property, has to go
through all the. It's been legally done. It's been legally done through the solicitors, and it's all signed over to the parents.
So the property has been conveyed to the parents?
Yeah.
Right. And it's now registered in the parents' name?
In the parents' name, yeah.
And what money changed hands in order to do that?
No money changed hands. It was just basically the friend just put the just gave the property to his parents, and obviously did that legally to the solicitors and changed the name.
Right. So when the friend gave the property to his parents,
yeah,
we first of all have to establish, did he own the property outright?
Yeah, the mortgage was paid for. Yeah.
No, but did he own it outright, or was it jointly owned by him and his wife?
No, he owned it outright. It was on his name. He was paid the mortgage.
Right. Well, that's not really that important. It is possible, and I only say possible because, I've no idea about the circumstances other than the very brief outline you've given me. But it is possible that his wife could say, you've disposed of that property illegitimately because half of it is what I'm entitled to. And so you've given it to them, it's valued at £200,000, you owe me 100,000.
Yeah, it could go that, yeah.
But it would have to be the courts that sorted all that out, or by agreement between their respective lawyers. But you can't just give it. You can't just give it away and then say, I haven't got it anymore.
Yeah. Right, okay, that's fine. But another thing, your show's really good, and I always listen to it.
Thank you.
But I understand you're leaving in May or something.
I am contracted until the end of May, and what happens after that, who knows? We have to wait and see. That's the way my business works.
And all the best, and take care, yeah?
Thank you. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, you can. We're here till 1 o'clock, which is about 3/4 an hour away, so there's bags of time if you so desire. I'll carry on looking at because I forgot to finish it, the national newspapers. The Daily Express, Tory rebels fight to close the migrant loophole. And the Tory rebels have urged Rishi Sunak to close every legal loophole that allows foreign judges to interfere with Britain's borders. So that's that. The Daily Star, oh, poor blimey, it's going to rain cats and dogs. Yeah, well, it's important stuff. The Guardian tomorrow, NHS chiefs sound the alarm as spiralling staff shortages. So we know there are massive shortages. Somebody referred to it a little while ago. And there are going to be even more shortages because of what the NHS chiefs are saying. People are leaving. Laughing gas banned in Sunak crackdown. Apparently the kids inhale it. The latest stupid craze, but then aren't kids meant to be stupid? It's just unacceptable. Hippie crackdown, says the Metro, will tackle the scourge of laughing gas canisters, says Gove, as new crime measures are revealed. So that's the gist of what's happening in your newspapers tomorrow. And, it's worth getting one and having a look. I'll have a few and decide what I think about them all. But 0800 218 2255 is the number. If you want to join us, you can talk about absolutely anything, as is always the case. Yeah, because we don't mind. It was nice to hear about the Palm House earlier. I do like the Palm House in Liverpool, Sefton Park. I used to live just around the corner. Do you remember the lake? Well, you remember the lake, it's still there if you're in the area, but there's a lake in Sefton Park, and one summer they built a boat, a sort of, it didn't go anywhere, but it was like Peter Pan's, the boat in Peter Pan, Captain Hook and all of that. I've no idea what it was for. I don't even know whether you could get on it. I can't remember, but I do remember the boat. I can't be alone in that. Or can I? Perhaps I made it up. Perhaps I dreamt it. 0800 218 2255. How do Tony?
Hi, Alan. You okay?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. You've just been talking about that belt that somebody's pinched off somebody worth £10,000.
Yeah, that gentleman said somebody had a belt worth that kind of money, or cost that kind of money, yeah?
It's happening regular. Footballers are wearing £70,000 watches. and getting them pinched. The boxer, Amir Khan, just had one pinched.
Yeah.
So, in fact, why would you wear around with something that worth on your wrist? You're inviting them to.
I don't know really, but one should be able to, shouldn't one? We should be able to walk around wearing jewellery.
Yes. But there's people walking around with nothing, and they say it's a temptation.
Well, it is a temptation, but again, I say that, you know, if we're to say, well, we best all wear sackcloth and ashes, because if we wear something more than sackcloth and ashes, we're going to be tempting criminals.
Yeah. Well, the other guy is Ashley Cole. He was tied up in his own home. This was in the paper last week.
Yeah.
The bloke that did it got 30 years. Does that make sense? 30 years for he's not killed Ashley Cole. He didn't cut his fingers off.
It depends what else happened. It depends on all sorts of things. I wasn't in court. I don't know the specifics of the case. The judge's job is to decide what sentence is appropriate for the crime that the person has just been convicted of, and presumably the judge decided that 30 years was the right amount for that individual, and it will have been within the prescribed sentencing, the sentencing policy of the court. So,
well, why was it people can kill somebody and only get 20 years?
Well, because the circumstances, no matter what they do with, really dead's dead, isn't it? However it's brought about. The answer is sentencing policy is laid down, and it is relevant to circumstance. So when a person is convicted of a crime, it isn't just, a murder or a robbery or what have you. It's all the other things that have to be taken into consideration by the judge to decide what is the appropriate sentence. And I've never heard anybody who was a victim of crime say, yeah, that was the perfect sentence. Never heard it said. People always disagree with the sentencing, but somebody's got to make the decision, and the decision is confined to a certain extent by the parameters laid down in the law.
I think 30 years was harsh for somebody that's not killed anybody or done any harm. When they say there's people killing and killing and killing, and they're getting 15, 10 years, 20 years sentences.
Well, when you commit murder, the sentence is life. You don't spend your life in prison generally, but the sentence is life.
Yeah, life. With you might do 10 years, but you've got a life sentence.
Well, like I say, the sentence is life. It's possible, I don't know the Ashley Cole case, nor do I want to, but it's perfectly possible that the person who was convicted, that was the 9th one he'd done last week, I don't know. And so it was a rolled up sentence. It might be that he's only just come out of jail. It might be that there was some terrible, horrendous behaviour that took place also. I don't know. But the sentencing, the judges are given their, it's not even guidance, it's very strict minimum and maximum. And they have to give a sentence within that, and they have to say the minimum term that the person will be required to serve. In other words, this is how many years you will do before you can even be considered for parole. And sentencing policy, as I say, everybody thinks it's balmy.
You're right there, Alan, actually.
But they always have.
Could have had a wrong sentence, they don't tell you that in the paper. And he did it in front of his kids.
Well,
Bolton.
So there you are. That's yeah. That makes it worse than just nicking a few pieces of jewellery.
Yeah, I get that, but it's just 30 years. That's what jumped out at me. Why is he getting 30 years when he's not killed anybody? Or never mind. Can I go on to one more point, Alan?
No, then.
The laughing gas.
Yeah.
Why has it ever been sold anyway? Why could you ever buy it?
I suppose it was considered generally harmless until more and more people used it in leisure. I mean, my memory's a bit vague on it, but I think that's the gas they used to give you when they gave you gas at the dentist years ago when I was a kid. Yeah.
They did, right.
So I don't know. And the gas comes in those little cylinders, and they look like they were the kind of cylinders you used to get in cigarette lighters. So maybe that's why it was available, but I don't know.
Yeah, they look like little torpedoes, and they're all over the street.
Well, there's quite a few knocking about hither and thither, yeah.
I just don't get why you'd be able to buy it if it's not for medical purpose.
Well, as I say, it isn't the inhaling it is a new phenomenon. It's rather like glue, you know. Why do they sell glue? People are getting driven crazy by it. Why have they been selling glue? Well, because it's got a use, sticking things together. And those little capsules, they have a use, I presume. And that use, I mean, one of the things that crossed my mind as a potential use is cigarette lighters. I've been selling cigarette lighters for donkey's years, and they have these little gas things. I've got a thing for lighting. Well, we don't have a fire anymore, but in the days when we had a fire, I had a thing. You used to click a button and it used to light. It had gas in it. And I suspect the gas in it was in a little cylinder. I suspect it might have been the gas that these crackpots have been inhaling. So it will have a legitimate use. It's now that it's being used illegitimately that people are saying, hang on a minute.
Yeah, Alan, okay, so they don't want us to laugh anymore. That's the thing. Yeah.
That's why we've been put on this programme, to make sure nobody laughs, Tony. We're part of that problem. Have a good night, mate. 0800 218 2255. They've banned laughing gas because too many people were laughing. How do, John?
Two questions.
Okay.
About the last caller, about the laughing gas. Right? They come in silver containers. It's like a bit. It looks like a bullet.
It does,
and
yeah.
It's used.
Except it's not pointed.
It's used for soda streams. You know, when you got a soda stream and it runs out and you can fill it up.
Yeah.
You put it in a tube. You screw it in, and it squirts the gas out of the container into the soda stream, and that makes the bubbles, or you know.
Yeah. So if they ban the sale of it, how are people going to get their soda streams to work?
True, because you can buy them in. You can buy them in Birkenhead, because I've bought them many times to fill my soda stream up. It saves you going out buying a new soda stream every day, or every week. You just buy these capsules, put water in the tap, screw one of these in, and it goes.
Well, I know about the soda stream. They're quite clever, and yes, they must work on gas. I didn't know that was the gas they used, but yeah, must be.
Well, I don't know what gas it is, but that's what they are, because I've seen them round Birkenhead, and I picked one up because I thought it might have been full. And it's what they do is the very point of it. They put a pin in it or whatever they do, and then shove it up the beach.
Oh dear. Oh well, to each their own, I guess. Well, that's what the government are concerned about.
Now the second thing about the boats in Sefton Park.
Yeah.
It's like a stream off the main boating lake, and the actual Jolly Roger.
That was it, the Jolly Roger.
Yeah. The boat itself was made by Camelids. I don't know if you like to call them veterans, but the older people.
Yeah.
A group of old, you know, well, senior, no, not senior. Say in the 50s.
Yeah.
They made it, and because I work for the council on the forestry, and we done the base in concrete for the sit on in the island, and then we made the like a funnel and a because we built her like a straw hut and put like a chimney on it.
There was me thinking my mind was playing tricks on me, so thank you.
No, you could get on it if you waded across the water, but, but it was brilliant.
It was. I remember seeing it and thinking, that's fun.
And the other thing about the farmhouse, there's a gantry that runs around the top.
Yeah.
And you go up the stairs and walk around a gantry. I don't know if they'll allow you today, but we went up because they had a pink banana tree there.
Did they?
And you couldn't eat it, and it was leaning over, so we had to go on the other side of the gantry, put a rope around the tree, and ease it up to the top because it was falling over.
But when was this? Because it was derelict for years, wasn't it? The palm house, and then it was
I'm talking about. When did I go in? Mid-70s.
Well, that was about when I knew it, and that's when I was aware.
Yeah,
it was wrecked.
Because I started on the forestry, Liverpool Forestry Commission, Parks and Gardens, in 1969.
It was around the 70s when I knew it.
Yeah.
And as I say, it was derelict. I mean, there were still plants and bushes and all that in it, but it was locked, and there's a couple of broken windows.
But when I used to go in there often, because I worked in many parks around the Liverpool area, and it was ongoing. There was a couple of windows broke, but later it started to, all the glass was coming out the top, and it just started to close down, but left the plants there.
It got really rough, didn't it? But they refurbished it. It looks spectacular now. I mean, it's just brilliant.
No, I haven't been down there.
Oh, you've got to
go over on the Wirral now.
No, well, it's a bit of a schlep, but I've been a few times. There are functions in there and the like, and I've been to a few, and it's pretty good. It's all right. It looks tidy.
The main entrance to the lake from Egworth Road.
Yeah.
But that's where they used to keep the boats there. But there's a boathouse on your right hand side as you're walking towards the lake.
Yeah.
And we were taking trees down there, and there was kids crawling through the hole because they'd knocked the panel out. Like around the bottom of it had square panels, and they wouldn't come out. So me and another lad crawled in to see what they were doing, and they were opening all them square panels on the other side. On the inside was a door, and they were breaking them open because there was model yachts in there. Another ones that used to sail in the Victorian time, sailing on the lake.
Yeah.
And groups of fellas have chairs and a flask, and they'd watch the boat sailing down the lake. Well, that's what they would do. Do a pinch in them.
Lord. I may be wrong, and people will definitely correct me, but I think that boathouse is now an ice cream shop and a cafe. I think it is.
Oh, I don't. As I say, I haven't been there for years. But they did have it. They did have an ice cream cafe there because that was where Peter Pan is. And there's a statue of Peter Pan in the park, and there are two lovely ornamental cannons there as well.
Good heavens!
But they kept on getting pinched and returning.
Well, John, good to talk to you, mate. Good on you. Thank you very much, and thank you for putting my mind at ease about the Jolly Roger. I started to think I was making it up. How do, Danny?
Hello, Alan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was just about in the favour of the NHS.
Okay.
My daughter Katie, she's 30 now, God bless her. I mean, she's wonderful. But when she was 1 years of age, we discovered that she had dislocated hips. Through they used to call it clicky hips as such. The hips from birth hadn't fitted in as such. So anyway, she was in traction for 6 weeks in the hospital, and I would go in the daytime from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 at night. Then my wife would come in and then she'd take over the night shift. So for 6 weeks, we were just, watching over it and all this. And a wonderful doctor, he performed the operations on her after she was in traction, because they still hadn't fitted in, you see. So they done that. And I remember as a kid, Alan, and in Liverpool, seeing older people who were walking around crippled, and I often wondered what it actually was, in the way they were walking. And then I found out years later, not all, but a lot of them, it was to do with before the NHS was formed. They didn't have operations or anything like that. So they were crippled, God bless them, they were afflicted, I should say. They were afflicted, disabled as such. And Katie there, she went through that and successfully. She didn't walk till she was 3, but she's had 3 kids now, young kids. And, she works in the same hospital now where she was operated on. And I thank God, I think it's great for the NHS. Without that, I asked myself the question, what would we have done? What would she have done? And one particular day, I felt in the doldrums looking at her in all this interaction. Anyway, the nurses walked into, they had a little nursery there in the hospital we went into. And there was a special nurse there with a little boy, and his parents had gone away on business. And the little boy was there, just static really. And I said to this so-called special nurse, what's wrong with him? He can't see, he can't hear, he can't. I said, what's that bell for? She said, vibrations over him, like that. And I said, can you pick him up a minute? So she picked him up, and I said to Katie, lying there in there, cot with railings, kiss him on the forehead, so she did, and his eyes flickered. And then I went out of my, I didn't feel, I thought, my God, as you do, that's the expression. I thought, I'm worrying about Katie, and look at that poor little kid, you know what I mean? So I went out of the doldrums then as such, and I think to myself, without the NHS service, what would we do?
Well, we would be in a mess. Before the NHS, you got the medical treatment you could afford. In fact, if you used to call the doctor round, he'd want a tanner before, and a tanner was a lot of money then. He'd want sixpence before he or she mainly.
Dispensary.
Well, the dispensary was where that's where they send the medicines out. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. People were taking there though for some reason. What I've read to a dispensary, and as you rightly say, where the medicine was allocated. You
had to have money. If you didn't have the money, you wouldn't get the treatment.
So that's why it's so important, isn't it, for all of us to keep the NHS service going,
Or at least to keep a free at the point of use service, yeah.
Yeah, so, but it is basically very important, I think. When I look at my young daughter going through that, and I've seen a far, far worse case with that poor little boy, breaks me heart to this day. But without that, what could we do?
You could do nothing. As I say, we would be in a terrible state without a shadow of doubt. That's why we should be proud of it and defend it.
Yes, I agree with you, Alan.
Good to hear
Lovely talking to you, Alan.
And you have a good night. 0800 218 2255. We forget, we really do forget how well off we are with our National Health Service. And long may it remain. But it is damnably expensive and grows exponentially. You know, all the money we spend on cancer treatments now, we weren't doing that 60 years ago. You got cancer, they dug a hole, basically. How do Paul?
Hello, Allan.
Aye.
Aye. It's immaterial, really, but I rang you the other night about regarding getting the gas refunds for the warm housing. But tonight I'd like to talk to you, Allan, about this siren, what we're going to get on our phones, apparently.
Yes, this warning noise, yeah.
Yeah, is it true, Allan, first of all?
Well, it's true that the government has decided that they're going to send this test, because it's only a test, they're going to send this test of you called it a siren, we'll settle for that, of a noise on your phone, so that they're just making sure that it all works, and then they're going to use it as a means of warning us of things that we need to be warned of, flooding and things like that.
They say flooding, though, Allan, but it seems to come across to an awful lot of people that the war in Ukraine with Russia, Putin's been over to see, I can't pronounce his name, is it the Chinese leader?
Well, the Chinese leader went to Russia rather than the other way around.
Oh, sorry,
yes.
sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
So could that be? Could they have put this in place in case they start? If they start sending nuclear weapons over here, because we're sending a lot of. Britain and America are sending a lot of arms. Or they said they're going to, maybe not yet, but they're sending a lot of tanks over there, and Ukraine have asked for a lot of help from America and Britain. So could that be why they put this in place?
Well, the problem with the question, could it be? I would have to know for sure that it wasn't in order to say no. Could it be?
Yeah.
That isn't the declared use, and quite frankly, what good would it be to have such a thing, to say to you, look, in 10 minutes time your city's going to be...
So what do we do if your siren goes off, basically?
Your watch rings and it says in 10 minutes time your city's going to be blown up by a nuclear bomb. What do you do?
Exactly. I just don't know how to take it, really.
Well, if you look at that, all that would do would cause utter panic, which would achieve nothing, wouldn't save any lives, it would be utter panic.
Look, this is what I'm trying to explain to you, Alan.
So perhaps it's not for that. Perhaps the government are aware that really wouldn't be the way forward.
A lot of Britain is high level, so I can't see that. They're saying it's global warming and flooding. We're not going to get flooded, Alan, I don't think, in our generation.
Well, yes, we are. Indeed, there are people flooded now. There are people in Lancaster who are still recovering from the floods 18 months ago. We do have an awful lot of floods. They don't go... It's not like Noah's Ark, it doesn't sink the whole nation, but there are floods every other month. Serious flooding where towns and cities are brought to a standstill. And then, of course, we've got the problem...
I feel so sorry for them people.
Well, yes, but if we could give those people a warning that it was coming, they might be able to take precaution. All sorts of other things. It might be, you might live near a factory that's just had a poisonous gas be released into the atmosphere accidentally, or worse, and perhaps it would be wise to know about that. They say on the radio, close your doors and windows. They have police officers going around knocking on doors saying, close your doors and windows. But if you could just go press a button and 10,000 people get the message at once, that might be a good idea. I don't know.
It just seems a bit coincidental that we've got all this conflict going on, and now we're going to all of a sudden get this warning. I don't know, Alan. I don't know. That's just being a bit superstitious, or
there's an awful lot. Whenever anything happens, there's an awful lot of people go, 2 plus 2. Yep, that's definitely a 5. So
well, yeah.
And social media hasn't helped with all that. But
no, they definitely haven't.
on the face of it, it sounds like a sensible precaution. But anyone who thinks, hang on a minute, let's look at this carefully, because this is the government we're thinking about, and they're not always, governments of every political style are not always as straightforward as we might like.
Yeah. I'd just like to, just last quick one, Alan, I'd like to just give a heads up to the last caller about the NHS. I thought he was brilliant in what he said. I have a daughter with a condition called, well, it's a bit too long, but she's flat. Congenital peripheral demyelinating neuropathy she's got. We actually moved into, we had to, do all our windows with the white stuff and move into Ronald McDonald House in Alder Hay. And we were there for 18 months. I was still fully employed. My wife was there doing all the day shifts and night shifts. But I'd just love to give a great big shout out to Alder Hay Hospital as well.
All right,
and like he said, where would we be without the NHS?
We would be up that creek without a paddle, I think. Good on you, mate. 0800 218 2255. It's getting on for 1:45. We're here till 1. I'll do Gabby. Hello, Gabby. Gabby's clearly chosen not to gab. I'll do Jacqueline.
Hello, good morning. Oh, excuse me. The cartridges for the soda stream, are they not CO2 cartridges?
I don't know. I've never had one, but I presume so.
Because I can't imagine everybody putting laughing gas into their pop bottles, can you?
No, it's probably not a good idea, but you want people to enjoy their drink, don't you?
But I think it's CO2.
Yeah, well, you're probably right.
The cartridge. I just thought that, I can't imagine the laughing gas thing. Oh, yeah. Why bother going out for a drink when we drink water with this laughing gas plugged into it? Okay, good night.
All right, Anna. It's nitrous oxide, isn't it? I've just looked it up. I didn't know. It's nitrous oxide. They're in those little capsules. What they use those capsules for, legitimately, I have absolutely no idea. But someone will know, and no doubt tell us. I'll do Mark.
Hello, Alan. You okay?
I'm very well, thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Right. You're not a David Bowie fan, are you, Alan?
This is correct.
You are a Leonard Cohen, what should we say, a fan?
You say that if you like. I'm not really a fan of anything, but I like Leonard Cohen's music and lyrics.
Yeah. Do you want me to tell you, like, the best... Do you remember Bob Harris, who used to do the old grey whistle sets? Do you remember?
Yeah. I'm aware, yeah.
Yeah, he looked a little bit like a rabbit with a beard, didn't he?
I don't know whether that's a description he'd be proud of, but he certainly was an interesting deportment.
Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Indeed, yeah.
Anyway, I remember this, I was a kid. I was about 12 years old. David Bowie, the first time I ever saw Bowie, and he came on the old grey whistle set, Bob Harris, and he did a song called 5 Years. Live, he was playing guitar. Mick Ronson, we had Woody Woodmansey on the drums. It was all... The band were absolutely immaculate timing. And Bowie, I'm telling you, Alan, that's the best live performance I've ever seen in my life. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube now.
Right.
So, honestly, I remember that from my childhood. And I've been listening to it, I've been watching it, and it was immaculate. 5 years. And it's very poignant. Like, today's circumstances, we are facing a possible nuclear apocalypse at some point. Possibly. I'm not saying we will. The way things are going with Putin, China alliance, Iran, all those countries, the East against the West, Nostradamus predicted all this. And I just think that song is very relevant. But you're not a Boris fan, so you're not playing.
Well, I don't pick the music. It's what the computer picks, unless it's something relevant to something we're talking about. So,
I'd love you to listen to that song. It's 5 years, Alan. Even when you're in spare time, 5 years.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but Alan, honestly, if you listen to the words, at the time when I was a child, I didn't think much about it. But now, the guy was a genius. He said we've got 5 years left to die. 5 years. We're lucky we've got 5 years, aren't we?
Well, hang on a minute. It was on the old grey whistle test, and he said, we've got 5 years. Well, the old grey whistle test finished more than 5 years ago, so whatever else Bowie was, he was wrong.
I know, but I think it was a premonition, to be honest.
Well, it was an inaccurate one. When he said we got 5 years left, he was wrong.
Yeah, but, I mean, you got to think, David died in 2016, but he's left this legacy behind him, and
and that's fine, and lots of people like it, but his 5-year prediction, was wrong.
Yeah, maybe at 972. Yeah,
there's nothing about maybe. There's no maybe. He said we got 5 years left, more than 5 years ago, so he was wrong.
Yeah, but is it not relevant today with Putin on the?
Well, it doesn't matter if he says if he'd have said you've got 5 years from 2023, he still had a chance of being right. But when he said then you've got 5 years, he was wrong.
You always pull me down, Alan.
Well, no, I'm not pulling you down or him. It's just you're saying listen to the song. It was predictive. Well, okay, it was, but it was wrong.
I think it was. Yeah.
Well, it was wrong.
I know you don't like him. I know that. I appreciate the fact. But the man was a pure genius.
Well, lots of people think so.
I listened to his lyrics, and when I first heard them, I thought, it don't make much sense. But when you start listening, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's like, I guess that's like Leonard Cohen, really. You've got to listen carefully to the lyrics.
Well,
and then
first of all, with a performance, with a music performance, I mean, you have your way. With a music performance, I listen to the music first, the tune, the song. The lyrics come later.
Yeah.
If the noise, if the sound isn't.
Yeah.
If the sound isn't pleasing me, I'll never find out what the lyrics are, because what the hell, I don't care.
Yeah,
but if I like the sound...
You. Yeah. That's it, isn't it? It's like music. It's one of those things. Once you get one, and it kind of hits you. One that's good, it gets you, and you just all right, that's beautiful. And others don't, that's what you mean, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I wasn't speaking for anybody other than me, but when I hear a piece of music, I decide on first hearing whether I like it or not. And if I hear it again at some point, I think, oh yeah, I remember that. And then I think, oh, that's very interesting. I wonder what it's on about. And then I might check the lyrics. I mean, if the lyrics were that important, I wouldn't bother with music. I'd just read it as a poem. But the music is what it's about.
That is exactly what David Bowie was. He was a poet, but he put it into words and he sang songs to it. You know, the thing is, everyone thinks David Bowie only sang music. No, he didn't. He played guitar, he played keyboards. Life on Mars, which is my favourite track of all time, he showed Rick Wakeman how to play the chords on that one. That's what I want. So Rick, who was a better pianist than David, said, right, I'll do that. He got paid £9 for doing that. £9.
In the days when it was a session?
Yeah. He was on radio once. He said, I got £9 for doing that. The boy. £9. Does he get any royalties on it?
Not if it's a session, no.
Oh my God. I mean, come on, that is one of the classic David Bowie songs of all time, isn't it? Life on Mars. Surely you like that one, Alan.
I can't remember it, to be honest.
Oh, come on. It's a god-awful small affair. To the girl with the mouse, yeah. You know that one.
Yeah, it rings a bell.
You've heard that. Everybody's heard that. Well, that's my favourite. But he got £9, Rick Raymond, playing the keyboard on that. Anyway, what time is it, Anne?
It is 6 minutes to 1 o'clock. Good to hear from you. How do, Gabby? We lost you and found you again.
Oh, hi. I just wanted to talk, Alan, about the Big C, really, because
the Big
my
C?
mum died in, cancer,
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
My mum died in 2015 of pancreatic cancer, and she also had cirrhosis of the liver. And I'm going to explain it. I don't really believe in psychiatric medicine. That's just my personal, theory on it, really. I don't really believe in psychiatric medicine. I know you've been a psychiatric nurse, but I don't believe in the psychiatric medicine, because I think that a lot of the medicine that they give you for your mind can mess with your hormones and different things, change your metabolic, cells and everything. You can put on weights and different things and that, mainly put on weight, really, which can, go to other things like diabetes and things like that. But I wanted to talk about cancer, really, because I think that, if someone is smoking or doing something like that, that it's a possibility that they can get cancer. And I haven't done things the right way, really. I've smoked for the last 8 years, and I think I have become ill now through it, if that makes sense.
It's certainly a possibility that if you're ill now, your smoking has made a contribution to it, yes?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's my own doing, really, to be honest with you. I don't think it's anybody else's doing. But I also will say this, that, the memories that you have with your family are really, really important, and that if someone is or has got an illness of any description, then the memories with your family are really, really important, because you can't get them back, can you, once you're gone, sort of thing.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah, and,
I think that basically the cancer can be cured through other means, not by radiotherapy or by chemotherapy. I don't believe in the fact that if they give you radiography or whatever it is, radiotherapy or chemo, I just believe that feeds the cancer really more than anything. I mean, I've done a bit of biology.
You're entitled to your belief, but there are an awful lot of people who have had those treatments and recovered from their cancer. So you're entitled to your view, but it doesn't seem to be borne out by the facts.
Well, I would like to, I think, to be honest with you, I think that cancer can be cured through other things, maybe.
For example?
Well, I would say I think that it can be cured through salts more than anything.
Through
someone
salts?
who's got, yes.
Right, okay.
Because salt can shrink a growth. It can shrink a growth.
Gabby, I would love to discuss it with you more, but unfortunately the end of the programme is upon us, so we will not. But thank you. Salt can cure, or salts plural, can cure cancer because it shrinks growths, and who knows? I certainly don't, and the doctors at the Christie and all the cancer treatment places disagree entirely. Clatterbridge, a huge one on the Wirral, they don't think, well, never mind all that messing about with that radiation, give the bugger some salt, they'll be up and out by the morning. But each to their own. We live in a strange world. Thank heavens. We're kind of done for the week, which is not bad for a Sunday. We will be back, all being well, on Saturday at 10 o'clock, and indeed on Sunday at 10 o'clock. And if you want to join us then, you're more than welcome to. Failing that, just stay tuned to BBC Local Radio wherever you are. It's dead easy. And we're in for a cracking week, I believe. I've been Beswick. You've been brilliant. Till next Saturday at 10, have a great week. Ta-da.
BBC News at 1 o'clock. This is Adam Porter. The new leader of the Scottish National Party will be announced this afternoon, following the resignation of Nicola Sturgeon. Members are deciding between the Health Secretary Humza Yousaf, the Finance Secretary Kate Forbes and the former Minister Ash Regan. The winner will face a vote in the Scottish Parliament before becoming First Minister. The political commentator Brian Taylor says that's not a foregone conclusion.
There are 129 MSPs. The presiding officer is not expected to vote in that. That makes it 64 SNP against 64 from all the rest. At the moment, they have a majority because of that pact with the Greens. But as I say, Kate Forbes and the Greens don't seem to be getting on all that well. This is going to be a fascinating 48 hours in Scottish politics.
Mass demonstrations are taking place in several cities in Israel after the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sacked his defence minister. Yoav Gallant had called for the scrapping of controversial plans to give the government more power over the justice system. Opponents have accused Mr Netanyahu of acting like a dictator. A major incident has been declared after an oil leak from the UK's largest onshore oil field into Poole Harbour in Dorset. The firm which runs the facility, Perenco UK, said a clean-up operation was underway. Our correspondent Greg Mackenzie is following developments.
And the Environment Agency has said that it's received reports of large amounts of oil in the water and says it was supporting Poole Harbour in dealing with the incident. Now, in terms of the company, it's Perenco UK who's confirmed that there has been a limited oil leak at one of its well sites.
Rishi Sunak will today outline proposals to crack down on antisocial behaviour. People deemed to be causing a nuisance on the streets by begging will be targeted under the plans, which will be piloted in 10 areas of England and Wales. The government says they could be helped to find accommodation or given assistance with mental health or drug issues. Football, Spurs have parted company with their manager Antonio Conte after 16 months. Tottenham are fourth in the Premier League but have been knocked out of all cup competitions. Christian Stellini will take over as acting head coach. Dan Kilpatrick, the chief football correspondent of the Evening Standard, says Conte launched an extraordinary attack on his players after a 3-3 draw against Southampton earlier this month.
He accused his players of being selfish, of being unprofessional. He accused them of having a lack of spirit, a lack of fight. He essentially went to war with the dressing room after the game. I was in the press conference. I've never seen anything like it in terms of a post-match press conference or indeed any press conference.
The Royal Mint has launched the final coin in a collection celebrating 25 years since the arrival of the Harry Potter books. It features Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, a colour version of the